Okay, cool. All right, so Rifts. First of all, super exciting news. I don't know if you've all heard, but Rifts is going to be Savage Worlded
Hmm.
by Christmas, they say. Uh, I'm going to buy 3 copies, not because I'm a huge Savage Worlds fan, but because I want to encourage Kevin to loan out some more of his properties to other systems. And if he makes loads of money off of this, then it will open the doors.
No, I
And
agree. And I was talking about tonight of all the people that could have helmed the project. I think that they found a good personality match with Sean.
yeah, I've back when I lived in North Carolina, I used to go to the cons, and I think it was the first year Savage Worlds was out. I ended up playing a bunch of one shots with a bunch of the developers over at Pinnacle, and they all struck me as really great guys. Mostly ended up hanging out with Clint Black more than anybody else, but um, yeah, they're good folks there, and they do good work.
Hmm.
I mean, like I said, I don't hate Savage Worlds. I just don't play it very much.
Or are
But
we
that,
on the air yet?
yeah, well, yeah. Uh,
I can't tell you what I really think. No, I think the guys are great, and just
yeah,
have,
they're
yeah.
good. They're good guys. They designed a solid game that does exactly what they wanted it to do. And I've actually always told people Savage Worlds was a good mix because people will be like, well, how do you do mega damage? I'm like, it's simple. You just do what did they call it, heavy damage there or whatever, or heavy weapons and heavy armor or whatever, and it scales almost exactly the same, only better.
Hmm.
In fact, I've stolen bits of that for my hack. Because I was like, there's easier ways to do this, and I think I have it. So we'll see. And let's see here. All right, so I'll put the link in for the. I just have a kind of a blank page set up on Google Docs so we can write stuff up should we feel the urge. All right. Um, So yeah, I have very little setting. Just basically set Paradise, Montana, which is a tiny town now. So imagine after the apocalypse, it'll be much tinier. But I figure Montana's far enough outside the range of what they've written about. I think it gets half a paragraph in the Mystic West and a paragraph in the main book, and that's it. So
It gets a paragraph in real life too. I mean,
as somebody who lives just in there, I think a paragraph is a couple sentences too long. Uh, Although Lewis and Clark did spend a majority of their trip in Montana lost, so I'm sure there are more than a paragraph written about it.
oh,
I
yeah.
think this way's north. How do you know? They all look the same.
I've actually got family up there, so yeah, they're.
Oh, whereabouts?
Um, I can't remember the town name. Like I remember the landmarks you could drive there, but I I forget all that stuff.
Yeah, I
I,
live
I
in
could probably put it on the map, but yeah.
I live in
I was
I live in Missoula, so
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, this is. We went through there when my dad was moving from Alaska to Florida, and
Mhm.
that was a very diverse trip. So that was fun. But yeah, all that stuff. Like I can't remember the names, but the images are very very vivid.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's a beautiful country. Nothing else happened there, but beautiful country. All right. So, funny story where I got this. One of my old jobs. I was a trainer, and so I'd spend half the job training people how to do it, and the other half wandering around answering questions. And then one day we went into a not so often used section of the floor where nobody'd sat for months, and there's this Rifts book sitting there, terrible shape. And we were like, what the heck do we do with this? And I'm like, well, I guess I'll take it. I've already got a couple, but can never have more. Can never have too many books. And so, yeah, this is my lost and found Rifts book. All right.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm basically setting it Paradise, Montana, small town, hunters, farmers. You guys are going to be the biggest fish in the smallest pond, or at least where it starts, and that's pretty much where I've got it. I mean, I've got a couple ideas about some areas around there, but we'll discuss as we go. And I'm stealing bits from other systems to make character creation more fun. And we don't have to keep track of percentages of skills, because I got rid of those. So we should be able to do character creation in less than 3 hours.
All right.
No.
Well, in the main book, there's 128 skills in this one. There's more in Ultimate Edition. Overall, throughout last count I did, there's 308 skills in the entire book series.
I think I have 312. I'd have to open the document again.
Yeah,
We're pretty close on that because I went through all the books and double checked.
Yeah, it was like I got asked because I go to RPGNet and I get into discussions about Rifts because for whatever reason it's burned into my brain. And I think Rifts is what happens when Hunter S. Thompson is forced to watch He-Man while on amphetamines, or at least that in my mind that's how it is. So let's get started, I guess. What were you guys thinking for kind of through lines or for adventure types you'd like to go? I generally go for higher end action type stories. Just personally as a GM, that's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay, and do you want to deal a lot with the Coalition? I've set this right after the Siege on Tolkien and that whole mess. Or do you want to deal with just crazy Rift stuff? Or should I just go crazy Wahoo Gonzo and just do everything? Because I can do that.
I mean, they're pretty much what I'm used to playing, so whatever.
It won't make any sense, but I'll do it.
Well, you're looking at it like basically a few sessions, right? You're not talking about like this long ongoing thing.
Generally speaking, the longest game I've ever run was I think 14 sessions. So yeah, I'm looking at probably 3 to maybe 6.
So it feels, based on that, you probably want to pick a single enemy and just fixate on them. And
yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, the character that I would tend to play would be based on whoever we were fighting. Like if you said, hey, this is the enemy. Now, based on that, what's your player character? I'd be like, well,
I have some ideas. Like again, I had some thoughts, but I have a couple of ideas. I had the Great Rocky Mountain Dragon and his minions building some kind of dark dread fortress up in the north and moving south. And then I had the annual the annual driving of the mammoths south for butchery and rodeos and whatnot. So that would be closer to I guess a lower key one. And then I had some demon critters from the Rifts, something killing people.
My roommates are in there watching Van Helsing as we speak. That's the first place that I went to with that. Either Demons from the Rifts or the Coalition sound like good, reliable enemies. You can always count on them to be just bad guys. And a dragon sounds big and scary, but it almost sounds almost too big and scary. Like I'm conditioned from other games that you can't beat the dragon. So
that's because other games.
I was thinking about playing a juicer. I can beat a dragon.
Other games.
Clearly, Rifts is not those games. Yeah.
What was do you ever see those old jokes where it's like the real men, real role players, real munchkins, all of that, and then they'd have them for all the different Palladium games, and it'd be like in Beyond the Supernatural, when faced with an opponent that's clearly superior to, everybody's like blah blah blah, and then in Nightbane, blah blah blah, in Heroes Unlimited, and then in Rifts it says, "Don't be silly. There's nothing more powerful than a Rifts player."
Yeah, that's. Sadly, that's I think the strongest argument I've heard against playing Rifts, but that's obviously not convincing enough because I'm here.
Yeah.
You are.
Rifts gets into your system, man, and you can't get it out. You could try, but it just doesn't do. I don't know what it is, but there it is. So I could do Demons and Coalition.
Okay.
And put you guys in the middle.
That'd be cool. So the Coalition shows up to fight the demons, and they don't care who gets caught in the crossfire or something like that.
Here's kind of how I'm thinking the through line would be: is the demons start attacking, and the Coalition shows up and says, "Well, we can protect you, but we've got some stipulations." So, and they can. I mean, they're the big dog on campus.
Yeah.
They've got a 1 million-man army, which is just insane. People who say Rifts is post-apocalyptic don't really understand numbers.
That works.
It's post-civilization, not post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
So that's an idea I could go with.
Okay. Do you like that idea?
Or we could go with one of the groups of First Peoples who live out here, because they also are kind of big and in control and have a lot of power armor and magic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's.
In true Rift fashion, you should roll on a table for this.
Yeah.
Here's my D10. All right. Well, all right then. That answers that question. Let's go with Monsters and Coalition, and then we can add the rest of the stuff in should we need to. Yeah. Should you guys Rifts all over the place?
Sounds good.
Okay, so what were you thinking of playing for characters? For OCCs, I guess.
Well, I was really thinking about the Juicer, especially since it's not going to be a long game. He might be around long enough.
Even in the longest game I've ever seen, I've never seen a Juicer die from burnout.
I've never seen one die from burnout. I've seen one die from overconfidence.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, here's the downside to Juicers, is they have a 5-year lifespan. It's like, yeah, but most adventures and even most campaigns take less than a year. So, in fact, I think we had one in the first game I ever played was we had a Juicer who was in the last 6 months of his life, and he was in the last 6 months of his life for the whole 6 months of the game.
Nice.
All right, so you're thinking Juicer. What about you, Bill?
The last time I played Rifts, I played a Techno Wizard, and that was unsatisfying. I like playing like the good guy paladin type characters.
Okay.
There's obviously several candidates there. If you're looking for a mix of men-at-arms, adventure scholars, magic and psychics, I would probably pick something else.
I'm not picky. Keep in mind, again, I tend to run towards the higher end of things, but I've run with Vagabonds, and there's not a huge gap.
Yeah.
Outside of, again, technology will solve almost all your problems. Get the right suit of armor, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter what what your OCC is. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think pairs well with the Juicer then? What would be a good support or?
Well, if you're aiming for a paladin type, I mean, there's always the Cyber Knight and the Glitter Boy.
Yeah.
Both of who fall into that thing. Cyber Knight's actually, I think, their main temple is supposedly somewhere in Montana.
Okay.
Or at least that's the rumor they put out in the first book before they started ignoring the first book. Which I think happened about halfway through the second book.
Yeah. I have never played the Glitter Boy. It's like the super iconic class for the game, obviously, but it might be interesting to try. it needs a lot of support from what I've seen as other people have played it. So that's the trick.
Oh, see, the way I've seen other people play it, it requires almost nothing.
Well, I would tend to play with GMs who treated rifts like old school D&D, but with higher damage numbers and more action. And if there was a way to inconvenience the glitter boy, they would tend to do it in the same way that some GMs would say, "Hey, Paladin, you're lawful good. You must do this, this, and this." So
I've played.
I've seen their weaknesses exposed.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, I've played with those GMs. I've never understood that logic. I think it's because Rifts has two tones that run throughout the whole book. One of the tones is gritty, dirty, post-apocalyptic, hard Scrabble, and the other is super heroic. Civilization's resurgence after a long time of hard Scrabble. And so one is about Epicuros, which is actually what the book says the game is about. And the other tone that runs through it where it's like, well, you know, death happens all the time. And I've done actually fairly intensive analysis of Rifts because I apparently don't have enough on my plate. Like,
let me see if I can go Google your name and find out what you're working on right now.
Well, one of my biggest surprise finds when rereading through Rifts in a thoroughly analytical way, you know, just going through and making notes and stuff, was that the system itself actually isn't that bad. The main problems are it's edited like crap, it's laid out terribly, and there are so many cut and paste errors that it doesn't make any sense. Also, there's just big chunks that are missing. Like, the skill section doesn't actually tell you how to use skills, which is really bizarre when you think about it. You're like, what?
There's a Rifts drinking game waiting to be made, and one of them is take a sip every time a word is italicized.
But my favorite thing about the old book, as opposed to Rifts Ultimate Edition, is that in the GM section, you get Kevin's whole thing on what it was like running, you know, the play tests and stuff, and you find out that he basically play tested it with one document that was basically the source document with about 11 of his friends, and he never beta tested it, which is where you run into a lot of that stuff where you hand it off to somebody and say, okay, I'm away, I'm not going to explain it, it either makes sense or it doesn't. And then you actually can see, he even mentioned some of the complaints everybody's had, like, there are way too many skills. A lot of these things don't make sense.
Yep.
And by the end, because I think Kevin's a really great GM, just from what I've heard secondhand, by the end of it, everybody was like, that was a great game. But I think it was a great game because he's a great GM and not because the system was great. Or at least the system wasn't used properly. So I'm attempting to fix it, and we'll see how that goes.
Fair enough.
All right.
Well, then on that note, the other OCC that I'd always considered interesting was the Shifter. That would fit well with, you know, monsters and demons, you know, coming out of Rifts. Unfortunately, from what I've seen, the Shifter is a very complicated class,
it's not that complicated. I mean, compared to, say, a Techno Wizard, it's nothing. I mean, because Techno Wizards, you got to keep track of your psychic powers, you got to keep track of your magic powers, you got to keep track of your items, you got to keep track of how much PPE or ISP you've put into it.
That whole thing was a nightmare, yeah.
I mean, I actually like the Techno Wizard. I think it's one of the cleverer ideas they put in here. Again, it runs tonally against a lot of other OCCs, like where cyborgs can't learn psychic powers or magic powers because we have psychics who get psychic power from cybernetic implants. That would be the crazy. We have psychics who can use. We have magic users who can use technology and enhance it. That's your Techno Wizard. But somehow, cyborgs, nope. And I really think that there was one guy in the original playtest. There had to be. I imagine it was just one guy who just abused the heck out of the cyborg rules. That's just what it feels like, because when you read through this, you get a lot of like weird editorial moments where you're like, this was something that came up a lot.
Yeah.
No, I'd be down. Shifters, cool. Actually, I think they're way easier than, say, a Line Walker.
Yeah.
Okay.
because line walkers have all kinds of weird special powers, where shifters are just like, I made a deal with something and now I have magic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shifters are basically Pokemasters.
Yeah, when you started on the New West thing, I started thinking, wouldn't it be great if you had this huckster type who had essentially magic cards for his summon monsters and just threw that and the monster comes out and that would be goofball, but
Duel. All right.
I'm actually sort of in mind to just blow stuff up. So how about the Glitter Boy?
Okay.
All right. I will find an opportunity for the shifter and do some more reading on that.
Well, that's okay. If this goes well, I might start another game.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
You
This
get
is basically
once every 6 months, right?
Sure.
Your assignment is like the last group of PCs who disappeared.
All right, so we got a Glitter Boy and we got a Juicer. All right, time to make some stat rolls. Now here comes the first question I have about my house rules. Do I want to just do 3d6, run it straight down the line? I mean, that's the standard. Or do you want to do 4d6, drop the lowest, and then place them wherever you want?
Well,
method 5.
There's the 3d6, and if you get a 16, 17, or 18, you roll the 4th.
Well, that's the standard in Rifts. Like that's just the rules.
So you're totally getting rid of that part? Okay.
No. I'm not getting rid of that part because why not? I'm just wondering how likely do you want that to be?
It's do you want to play the character or do you want to luck out? That's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's do 46. Drop the lowest, unless you roll a 16 on the 3, and then you keep the lowest as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Although, that does make Palladium really odd as far as the 3d6 stat groupings, because it's the only one where you cannot possibly have a 16 in a stat.
Yeah.
It's impossible. In theory, you could do it with like strength or speed if you had a really low speed and you picked the right skills. But
you got something you want to roll through, or I got dice over here?
yeah, just go ahead and roll them. I trust you.
I got my wife rolling.
We got the dice tree back here. We can use this, right?
I'm using dice first, but
Okay.
that's just because my desk here is too small to have dice everywhere. Wow.
On there.
Roll now. Uh, 10. You suck.
Is that actually 3 6s and a 5?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's pretty solid. That's the first go. So keep the 5, add them all together.
Okay, for a robot pilot, I'll put that in physical strength. Yeah, that's good.
Nah, you want to put that in physical prowess.
Oh yeah.
Because physical prowess is the uber. Well, it would have been the uber stat, but I'm changing the way stat bonuses work.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Because what now?
Are we rolling that extra d6 or no?
Yeah, 46. Drop the lowest unless you get a 16 plus. Then keep it.
Let's try that again. There we go. Oh, there we go.
So you're all over the bell curve there, Bill.
That'll be in Beauty, and he wears a helmet for a reason.
So long as I'm in my armor, I'm fine.
Oh yeah.
On the plus side, your gun is going to be even more scary because I'm adding a die to all damage rolls.
Okay, so you said 16, just keep all 4, or?
Yeah, 16, just keep all 4.
Okay, so that would be 19.
All right, and then there's 8 stats. Alright, let me know how you are.
Okay, I've got 8 rolls.
Okay.
I'm good there.
Arrange them how you like. Now the bonuses are all going to work like the parry, dodge, and strike bonuses from PP. That's just going to be on every stat above 17.
Okay.
Because skills work different now. So in theory, now your stats are actually going to be quite a bit more useful. We'll see. All right, how's it going, Cameron?
That's going good. Just filling them in.
Okay.
Grab that fillable sheet real quick. Just make it easy.
All right.
All right. Got them filled in there. We got to remember the bonuses. Is that the ultimate guide you've got there?
What now?
Is that the ultimate guide you've got there, or the?
I'm using the original, but Ultimate will work too. My rules.
Yeah, well, I've got both. I'm just trying to find the darn page.
Well, you probably want to use Ultimate just because, well, it increases everything.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my paper riffs collection got lost to the torrents of time, but I have rebuilt it slowly over the years through PDFs. So.
Yeah, I've got loads of PDFs too, but because this was one of the first games I ever played, I'm much faster at finding what I want.
Oh yeah, I still had the book. You know, it's funny, when I was at the half-price bookstore the other day, I saw a bunch of Superheroes Unlimited stuff, and it took all my strength not to buy it all right there.
Yeah, I have all of it except for 2. The 2 newest. I don't have Powers 3, and I don't have what is it? Armageddon Unlimited, which is actually that's the one I really want, but they don't sell it on PDF, and actually I just got paid. I might be able to get it.
Well, the other one I like, what is it? It's the second edition. It's the one with the white cover and the guy with the shield.
Yeah. Heroes Unlimited revised or Heroes Unlimited second edition revised or something like that.
Yeah, I've never gotten a paper copy of that. I always find the blue one.
Well, see, I'm really lucky. I keep finding Palladium books in horrible shape, but for free. Because that's one I also got. One of my old roommates left it behind, and it was just a terrible, terrible condition. Covers all peeling and falling apart, and I was like, well, I'll keep it around just in case. Although if I ever run Heroes Unlimited, I always combine it with Nightbane.
Yeah.
Because I like Nightbane, but I think it would be much better with superheroes. So, mostly because the Night Lords are just great bad guys. All right. So, did we get everything lined up?
I have a Google Doc. The link to that doc is in your
Okay.
doc. I've got stats assigned.
Awesome. Now they're probably gonna. Some of these are probably gonna change as you go. So, Bill, you rolled like crazy. I see that. Although you do, you do have I like your really physically unimposing and mentally unimposing character.
I think he's basically like a Dalek. He's like this little blob. No.
No, he could be your prototypical nerd who's just like he's skinny and not really socially aware, but then he gets into his suit and he's just dominating.
He sounds like straight out of an '80s anime.
I have no problem with that.
I think it's awesome.
All right. So then we'll go to, we've got your base stats. So then I believe next comes, I'm just going to go down the list of steps, even though the character creation steps make no sense in the order they're in. Okay. All right, hit points and SDC. See, that makes no sense because your SDC is based off of your OCC, which you haven't picked yet. That said, I'm getting rid of personal SDC. SDC is for, it's basically hit points for inanimate objects, not for people. So just do hit points. But because your physical endurance might change because of skills, we're going to move ahead. MDC, that should not ever be a step. That's based entirely off of. Okay, determine psionics. Either of you want to try and determine psionics?
I don't think I can hit him, can I?
Yes, you can.
Oh, you know what? What the heck? Yeah.
You just roll it. You roll percentile.
I got the mental stats for it. I'll take a shot.
You want to roll for me? Okay, go ahead.
Roll percentile. If you get below a 25%, you're psychic.
Oh, 3 off.
I'm 46.
Well, there you are. All right, selecting an OCC or an RCC. Again, determining psionics should be after that. What are you going to do? All right, so OCC, RCC. You guys have already picked it. So let's go to your classes.
Let me find the right book. There we go.
The best part is Glitterboy and Juicer are pretty much right next to each other, so that's handy. All right. Any special abilities you have that are percentage based, that have like a skill rating, let me know. I don't think you guys have any.
What about my bonus to SDC?
We'll call that a bonus to hit points, maybe.
I don't think you want 1d4 times 100 hit points.
But again, that's basically the same. Do you want to do the? We'll just go with the 1d4 times 10 to hit points then.
Yeah, I got that too. So we'll just ignore the SDC bonus.
Yeah, we'll ignore the SDC, and if it comes up, if it keeps coming up, then we'll deal with it.
Okay.
I have a couple of solutions for SDC, but
No, I know we've talked about it.
Well, and then the beauty part about it is it's completely worthless in Rifts anyway, because everybody has MDC weapons. So, oh, I did 200 damage. How much SDC do you have? Not 200? Well, you're dead then.
My knife does MDC damage. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, my knife can cut through concrete. My laser scalpel can cut through the moon. All right. So, yeah, do whatever additions you need to. Again, remember SDC is not for you. I'm looking here. Actually, I think Glitterboy got a lot added to it in Ultimate Edition, right?
Yeah, I can read any of the stats to you if you're interested, or I can just put them on the sheet.
It's okay. I have it on my computer. It's just I'm looking at this book and I'm like, oh, okay. But anyway, so what you want to do then is you want to separate your skills into the 3 categories. You have your OCC skills, your other or related skills, and then your secondary skills. Basically, your OCC skills are all skills that you will roll. That you roll a d20 and a 10 or better, you succeed. Related skills on a 12 or better, you succeed. On secondary skills, 15 or better, you succeed. And every odd numbered level, you get a +1 for that skill. So starting out, you get a +1 on your skills. If that makes sense. I don't know if that made sense out loud. Makes sense in my head, but never actually tried to explain it to somebody. So, but yeah, don't worry about the percentages. Actually, if the bonus percentage on, like, say, an OCC skill or whatever is a 10% or higher, add an additional +1. To the side of the skill.
If it's 10% or higher?
If it's a +10% or higher on the bonus to the skill in your big list.
Okay.
So this is the part that usually takes forever. It'll still take a while, I imagine, but we don't have to run down and get every single percentage from every single skill. Instead, you just got to write down the names of the skills. And how it'll work is basically when you're in a situation, you attach the skill to an attribute, roll it, add the bonuses. If it's higher than 10 for OCC skills, if it's higher than 12, and so on, then you're good to go. And juicers should just be absolutely terrifying in combat, I imagine.
I'm working on it.
Because speed adds to dodge.
I'm putting in all my save bonuses right now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's something you might want to end up, if you're moving over to D20, you might want to play with. I have a +8 to save versus toxins and drugs.
Actually, no, because I based the skills off the save rules. Because the save rules are actually fairly clever and neat. Badly put together, but, yeah, it's save and throw. It's page 36 of the normal book. I don't know where they're at in Ultimate Edition. But yeah, lethal poisons are 14 or better, non-lethal poisons are 16 or better, harmful drugs are 15 or better, insanity 12 or better, psionics depends on what your level of psionic powers are, and magic. Oh yeah, and physical skills still add the bonuses too if you want to, do that. And hand-to-hand combat still works basically the same. So those the physical skills work different. Because anything I did there would change it so much it wouldn't even look like Palladium anymore. It would end up looking like Where the Antelope Play, which is, well, kind of.
I'm not seeing the downside here.
Yeah, I've got ideas. I am working on a project. I'm working on a couple of projects actually that that are, while not related to this, as far as legally speaking, spiritually there are many similarities to certain aspects of this.
Cool.
So this is a testing of some of my ideas as well. All right. Next step.
Why did they have a section on detox?
What are they? What now?
Oh, the whole section on detox.
Oh, well, that's
I know why it's there. I just chuckle about it each time.
well, it's because again, I think Kevin is a fantastic game runner, and doesn't understand that people don't play Rifts for the same reasons he plays Rifts. Because I've read the big question and answer thing in Sourcebook 1, and if you ever want to get inside Kevin's head and what he expects from Rifts, that's the section. You read that, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, nobody plays like this. But like, he was super surprised that people would want to do certain things that are just fairly obvious. I can't remember what, but I have a list.
I think horsemanship will be a big part of this character.
Okay.
I don't know how that'll work.
You could buy a robot horse.
As I say, can he be a mecha horse guy?
Apparently this says there are cyber centaurs. I don't know how that works, but okay.
The Horsemen of Ixion.
Yeah, those guys.
But there are also robot horses you can buy from Bandito Arms.
That would just be too weird.
They also have hover cycles that look like horses. Because science.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright.
Fake Core had a lot of skills. I'm spoiled.
Here's my list of his questions. Let's see. Yeah, my personal favorite is when somebody apparently asked him, again, this is back in 1989/1990, somebody apparently sent in and asked him why anybody would ever want to use an SDC weapon when they have mega damage weapons. His answers are really interesting. He gives, I believe, 3 examples. Yeah, one of them is your character's out in the wilderness, his food supply is exhausted, he goes hunting for food. Okay, that makes sense. You don't want to completely vaporize your food. It's his second and third ones that I really like. His example number 2, you and your team are hunting down a suspected criminal, and you don't want to kill them. So I guess you would pull out your gentlest Colt 1911 and try to subdue him with bullets.
Call shot to the leg. Yeah.
But you can call it. The thing is a bullet in the leg is going to do about as much, in fact, more damage, really, long runs wise, than vaporizing the leg, because at least then it's done.
Yeah.
Example number 3 is one of my favorites, though. The group has come to the rescue of a small town that's obviously under siege by some sort of hideous supernatural creature or creatures. This situation is about saving a child from the monsters and a fire without blowing up the building the child is in. So you use SDC guns to keep a child safe in a firefight. Again, it just shows kind of where his head's at, though, where he doesn't get the inherent, the actual inherentness, or maybe he does. Maybe he gets his system better than we do, and that no, SDC actually, because of how much SDC I've given everybody, SDC weapons can't possibly kill anyone.
So it's like whatever's in his head went forward and became the rules.
Mm-hmm.
But what the rules say go forward into our heads, and we interpret what he was thinking.
Well,
they're not the same thing.
We interpret them literally because, well, what else would we have to do?
Yeah, because we can't get into Kevin's head, and I'm okay with that, but it makes it difficult to discern original intent.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of skills. I think you guys said this, but there's really a lot of skills.
Well, in the Ultimate Edition, it has the complete list, which is, or at least as of that time. So that was like 308 at the time, or 313, or something like that. It's insane.
I have got to know what are the penalties to roll Prowl to sneak around stealthily in combat armor.
Well, in Glitter Boy, there's can't. But in combat armor, it's generally around plus or minus 10% to your skill, which in this would be minus 2.
Yeah.
Basically, increase the difficulty of the skill by 2. Yeah. Well, and if you actually look at the actual percentage of prowl, wearing armor means basically you can't prowl.
Yeah.
Even a minus 5% is going to drop you down below 20% starting off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to give up and just make my character combat-centric because, well, why else play a juicer?
You got to play a juicer who's a robot pilot because that's the most broken thing in the game. And that's why
the robot slows him down. That's the problem.
No, because that's not how robots work in this. Robot combat just adds extra stuff. It doesn't slow you down at all. Mm-hmm. Now, regular armor, that'll slow you down, but robot or power armor will not. It will enhance your abilities. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what we've got. And that's also why the Phaeton Juicer is actually the scariest juicer, despite the fact that they don't look like it, because they're the best pilots. And they're hardwired for reaction time, so you put them in robot armor, and suddenly they're tougher than a Mega Juicer, faster than a Mega Juicer, and able to dish out way more damage than a whole battalion. Also, fun story, throughout the entire main book, they never explain what a DB is.
It's actually in the glossary. I looked specifically for that.
No, but it's not.
It was in some of the fluff, I think, actually.
Not in this
Not
one.
that one, yeah. But it finally made it in.
Yeah, they had to put it in their second book. Like, oh, right. That's okay, though. Source Book 1 talks a great deal about the Splugorth, and it never, ever tells you what they are. It just mentions them repeatedly throughout it, and then you got to wait 3 books to get any information about the Splugorth.
Nice.
And again, a solid editor. As somebody who has an editor, let me tell you, she has saved my bacon on Jade Punk way more times than I'd like to think.
Good.
Because she'll come out and be like, well, what is this? You mention it 6 times, but you don't explain it. I'm like, well, that's a good point. I see where you're coming from there.
Hey, I forget. I'm trying to remember. There were limitations to taking skills as secondary skills versus skills.
Yeah, there's a secondary skill list of things you can do. And that's on somewhere.
It's all right. It's got to be at the front of the skills, right?
No, secondary skills are they're from the same categories as your related skills. They just don't get the bonus.
Oh, okay. That's how I made all those cheap characters, and how I'm making one now. Gotcha.
Indeed. Yeah, because selects. Yeah, even it says there, page 71, Juicer. Character also gets to select 6 secondary skills from the previous list. Okay. Remember the first game I ever played of Rifts? It was actually the first game I ever played. I'd been running games for 3 years at that point, but had never played one. And so I played a dog boy who had a sombrero and a pipe. Nice. And we would take Triceratopses from Texas to, I think it was somewhere in Missouri, and sell them. That was our game. That was the original Buckets of Fun in the New West-O-Rama. So. Well, it's just the New West has the most books written about it that aren't Siege on Tolkien.
Now, I don't know. I really like some of the Europe ones. I
like them. I don't like Triax NGR.
Yeah.
Mostly because there's really not a whole lot written about Triax NGR. It's just a big weapons list with some really cool comic books in the middle. I love the Russia stuff.
Yeah.
I like parts of China.
Yeah.
But that feels like a completely different game. I like the idea behind Africa. I find it kind of stupid that one of the largest continents in the world has the smallest world book, and that's it. That just strikes me as lazy, personally. But I like the idea behind it as like a whole campaign book where, you fight the 4 horsemen all over Africa. Yeah, I mean, some of the books are good.
Well, I think some of my favorites were like Atlantis and Undersea.
Undersea is really good, and one of my favorites are the 2 South America books. Despite the fact that they're kind of overpowered, they're really well written. Japan is not my favorite. It's just, it's kind of all over the place and didn't really know what it wanted to be. Like, you've got this cool Brigadoon-style civilization that just disappeared for 300 years and then showed back up. So you have like a remnant of the old ways, but then they kind of ignore that and go all samurais and ninjas on everything.
Wait, there's something besides samurais and ninjas?
No, the whole book is just ninjas and samurais. Usually as a GM, I'll just completely outlaw that book. I'll be like, nope, you can't pull any characters from it. Because ninjas ruin everything. As a game master, I can say with absolute certainty that ninjas ruin everything. Look, when you get a ninja in the game, either you're going to ignore him because he doesn't fit into your campaign, in which case that player is just left out in the cold, or the entire game becomes about ninjas. I believe G.I. Joe had a similar problem in the mid-'80s.
They still do.
Everything became about ninjas. And that's because ninjas are cool. I get that.
Praise was definitely me. Having run Cthulhu Tech, the same problem happens with Tiger characters who are basically that setting.
Yeah, with taggers, you just make it. It's either all about taggers or you just don't allow them in the game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or Drow in Forgotten Realms.
Mm-hmm. Or Jedi.
Or Jedi. Really. So, and if you notice, they're all ninjas. That's what they all are.
Actually, yeah.
I had the most fun I ever had in a Star Wars game, though, was playing like the random smuggler pilot character when the PC was a Jedi, and the GM wanted like this big, aren't the Jedi great? Isn't the Force magical type of campaign? Because I played him as basically the role that you play when you're in a game with Jedi. He's the bumbling comedic sidekick. But he was a great bumbling comedic sidekick. And you had the Sith character confronting the Jedi in the airlock of the ship. And the Jedi's like, I'm helpless, how do I get out of this? I'm like, I'm at the controls, I tilt the ship. The GM's like, what?
Yeah,
it was fun.
It's one of those things where it's like, even George Lucas fell victim to Jedi love.
Yeah.
Or even more specifically, lightsaber love.
Yeah.
Because in the original movies, anytime a lightsaber came out, that's when things got serious. That's when the drama was at its peak, and they were going to have a major conversation about deep, meaningful things of character. In the prequels, the lightsabers came out when they wanted to open a can of peas. You know, it was just like, well, I could go over and get the can opener, or
Oh yeah. Well, Star Wars: The Old Republic did a much better job of highlighting and showcasing the other character types. I was really impressed with that game and the storytelling they did. But that's what you expect from the people who did Mass Effect. So.
Well, that's what you expect from the people who did Mass Effect 1.
That's not an argument I would get into.
Hey, the last 10 minutes of that series ruined the entire series for me.
I will accept that. Secondary skills. I have no idea.
Yeah, for secondary skills are picked from the same as your picks from the same list as your related skills.
Yeah, I just have no idea what to take. I will take 2 at random.
Okay. I generally would go with some kind of physical skill.
Some kind of physical skill being, for example.
Well, let's take a look here. You're a glitter boy? Boom.
Yeah.
Let me pull that up. I'll look over your glitter boy. Related skills. Physical. Any except acrobatics and gymnastics. Sweet. Take boxing.
Yeah. Okay.
Boxing is the superior skill in Rifts. If you don't take boxing, you are failing.
I feel bad about boxing, but okay.
It grants you an extra attack per melee.
Okay, I'll take it.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. But it's one of those things that if you've played a lot of Palladium games, you just know if you can take boxing, you must take boxing.
Fair enough.
Also, swimming might be good, just because you never know. Or climbing, also probably handy, if you don't have that already. Now, again, OCC skills, you succeed on a roll on a 20 of a 10 plus. And related skills, you succeed on a 12 plus. Secondary skills, you succeed on a 15 plus. And if you're untrained, you succeed on a 19 plus. And all the skills you have gain a +1 for every odd-numbered level. So first level, everybody gets a +1 to all of their skills. Mm-hmm. And if the bonus for the skill would be a 10% or higher, you get another +1.
Okay. It's not +1 for every 10%. It's just a flat +1.
No, just a flat +1. Because my goal here was to make this as easy as possible.
That's fair.
All right.
All right. I've got it, except I have to add up all these bonuses.
Well, you don't have to add the bonuses. You just gotta.
Oh no, these aren't percentage bonuses. These are the bonuses strictly from the physical skills.
Oh yeah, physical skills are the most broken part of the game, but they're also one of the more lovely parts of the game. Really, I find I find there's something about the adding all of that together that makes you feel like you've really accomplished something.
Exactly, no, and I don't think I know any other game that does that. Well, for taking the skill, we're going to boost up your physical stats so you're better in combat.
Yeah, although there's nothing like that for mental skills, which is it is what it is. All right, so then I guess we pick equipment.
Yep. I need some dice roll.
And which well, you've got your glitter boy and the boom gun.
Yep.
Which
so instead of saying +1, I'm just going to say like 10 plus or 9 plus for what roll succeeds on these skills. Does that seem real?
Yeah, that's
okay.
If that's how you want to do it.
It seems like a simpler syntax for indicating that.
All right, so standard equipment. You got your Glitter Boy personal armor, which I believe is a. Hold on, I actually have that written down somewhere because it's not in this book. It actually might be listed in your book though.
Yeah, it is. I've got the full equipment list here.
Yeah, because the personal armor is just the armor you wear while wearing your robot suit. You wear armor inside your armored robot suit.
Yo, dog, I heard you like armor.
So I
Yeah.
put armor inside your armor, so that way you can defend yourself while you're defending yourself.
Okay.
I'll take it.
And you got
Yeah, so
you got an energy rifle and energy pistol of your choice, plus 4 extra clips for each.
Yep.
And,
One energy weapon, 2 hand grenades, 2 smoke grenades, 6 signal flares,
yep.
survival knife, utility belt, air filter, gas mask, bat shark repellent. You never
Well,
know.
you have a utility belt, so.
Yeah, I got it here.
All right. Well, we're practically done. So.
Yep.
It took about an hour, which is about what I expected.
20 minutes of me kibitzing too, so you know that's fair.
That's half of the fun of role playing. Talking about stuff that you're not actually talking about.
Okay.
Also, you're going to want to do your hit points at some point. Which... Okay, here we go. Hit points is your physical endurance number plus a d6. So, okay, still doing that. All right, cool.
Was that bad for you?
No. It's oh no, really?
Huh?
Okay, I've at least got my attributes now.
Okay.
Oh boy, that's horrible. I after all these days of playing low-powered games, I feel like I'm cheating really bad. Ay.
Yeah. Well, this is my old school game.
What's that? Oh, Rifts?
Yep.
Oh yeah, Rifts was actually the first game I got into. Well, not Rifts, I take that back. Palladium, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and other stranges.
My first game I ever got into was Robotech, followed by Star Wars and Traveler. That was Mark Miller's Traveler. No, it was the New Era, right? Because I played that for like a day. And then I got into Mark Miller's Traveler, which I think was the 5th edition.
Oh, sorry.
Got a complicated history that doesn't. It's non-linear.
Yeah.
And then I finally got to play Rifts.
I don't suppose you want to possibly look at the attributes table and give me some bonuses, what they are equivalent to, do you?
What now?
I suppose you want to look at the attributes table and give me what bonuses I should be writing down if I read these off to you, do you?
Hold on. Sure.
I'm having a heck of a time finding it.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, IQ 10.
Nothing.
Yep. Mental endurance 13.
Anything that's a 17 or higher.
17 or higher, thank you. Physical strength 39.
Okay, well, they max out at 30 because that's the human maximum. So you're a beyond human, but that gives you a +8.
See there, 23.
23 would give you a +4.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually 28. My bad.
28?
Yeah.
Is +7.
7. Okay, 29, I'm guessing.
+7.
+7. And 74 for speed. I know that's completely different, but
That'll be a +8. Also, that means you can move at...
Mach 1, I think.
No, actually, it's
No,
nothing that crazy.
I don't know. It is ripped.
Basically, speed times 20 is the number of yards that you can move in a minute.
740, so... damn it, I'm horrible at that. Oh, 1,408 yards per minute.
Mm-hmm. And there are 4 rounds per minute, so divide by 4, and that's how much you can move in a round.
Jeez. Isn't that so pretty close to... That's insane. But that juicer gets that huge speed bonuses, and then they give him running on top of it.
Yeah. Well, they don't believe in balance. It's actually in I think, the Unlimited book. They actually- they're like, balance is for suckers.
Yeah, and I mean, I read it in, I think originally when I got conversion book, the first conversion book,
Mm-hmm.
he had written something where he said, you know, a lot of people complain because the next book comes out with something that's more powerful or this, that, the other thing. He's like, tough.
Oh, there you go.
You don't want it in your game? Don't have it in your game.
You can run at approximately 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, I just heard about there. That's not bad.
That's from the Crooked Cheetah.
Well, it's good highway speed, really. It's really that weekend traffic you got to worry about, though.
Yeah, it's still ridiculous. Oh well.
I thought there was a car in the way.
Yeah, there was actually a specific note in here. Let me see what it said. Let me find it. Which book am I at? All right, right one. There was a specific note about supernatural strength for the juicer specifically.
Oh, yeah, the juicer has not supernatural strength, but the level below that. They have what do they call it?
Augmented.
Robotic strength or whatever.
Yeah, augmented physical strength.
Yeah. Which means, yeah, you can lift like crazy.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to be able to lift 4 times, whatever, anyway. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And if it says you can do mega damage with a punch, just record that. I don't remember if it does.
I'm gonna find out in a second for us. Let's see, where's
'Cause there's 3 levels of super strength in Palladium.
augmented, robot, supernatural.
Yeah, or extraordinary, superhuman, supernatural, or brute, beastly, and crushing. Those are all the same levels of strength, but they gave them different names depending on the game system.
I see here. Yeah, inflicts 2d4 mega damage with a power punch or power kick.
Power punch, power kicks. I think they take two attacks to do, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. So Cameron, you're good, or are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I just got to write down the equipment real quick.
No worries.
But I mean, that's no reason to hold us up.
One of the really interesting things about Rifts that I noticed while doing one of my big read-throughs was that there are spells and equipment that allow you to substitute for skills, and this isn't a thing. Like, this needs to be more brought up. It's like, hey, there's a lot of skills. You can buy magic, and you can buy items that will allow you to use those skills. But again, that's that I've added to Secret Project 1. Also known as Where the Antelope Play. Alright, so moving forward, we've got to come up with descriptions, names, and relationships. And this will be some world building kind of stuff here, so. I'll tell you, every robot pilot I ever made up for riffs always ended up being morbidly obese for some reason. Because I would always roll on the random charts. So, and
I would love to have a morbidly obese juicer.
That's one of those things that it's like, I love random charts because stuff like that can happen where you're like, what are you? Oh, underneath all this fat, I'm solid muscle and I can run at Mach 10.
You can roll at Mach 10.
But I just can't lay off the cheeseburgers. Because, you know.
You'd be that ninja from Naruto, the guy who's overweight
Yeah.
and uses it. That guy
Who has the greatest fight
Choji.
scene ever.
What? Which one?
The big ninja from Naruto is like he's the shadowy guy's best friend, and he can take special pills that make him a kaiju, and give him butterfly powers, because reasons.
I'm okay with it.
Shonen. Let's be honest.
That is by no means the most ridiculous thing in that show.
No, actually, that's pretty normal, which is really sad. Mind you, it's not One Piece weird. I stopped watching One Piece after season 1 because I was like, well, you've just completely moved beyond anything I understand anymore. And it's not Bleach weird where things just get disturbing.
Well, that guy's trolling his fans, though.
I would not doubt it. I'm pretty sure you're right.
Okay.
Either that or he just had a whole
pretty good. I have to fill
he
some
wanted to
stuff
see, and isn't all that picky about how he gets from one thing to the next.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got your items, we've got your stuff. So names and descriptions.
Sorry, I'm still looking through math on the frickin' combat bonuses. That's going to take all day. I'll put that to the side.
Okay. Yeah, those.
I have a spreadsheet. I'm online. It's good.
No, it's one of those things. It's like, really, come on, guys, just be cool. Why you gotta be so complicated? But that's also part of it. It's part of the joy. That's weird. Because that's always been my problem with trying to hack it into another system. Is it like the other system makes too much sense? It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that craziness to it. That part where you're just like, well, how does this go together? And the answer is because, and that's it. It's like because riffs.
It doesn't have a crazy vibe or energy to it. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You don't ask those kinds of questions. It's basically a game for 13-year-olds by 13-year-olds, and every single book is basically just a catalog of exactly the same gun with a different picture.
Saved properly.
The truth is hurting my head. I'm sorry.
I read riffs for fun. It's for fun. Palladium games are my fun thing, and I analyze them and I think about them. And if you can't laugh, well, you're taking it too seriously.
Let's see if that actually displayed properly. Sometimes it doesn't.
All right.
I'll fill in blanks later, but
Okay. All right. So, all right. So, is your character's name Camden then?
yeah, I got lazy.
And Bill, you're a glitter boy.
Not my fault.
Yep.
Nice.
So, conceptually, you can start with Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, but with the power armor instead of dragons. The character is the character
say his name backwards. It's Snow Leonard, which is like a snow leopard, but a person.
This is a variant of another powered armor character that I played, so I'm kind of porting his personality over.
Cool. I'm down. Because if Riffs is nothing if not hacking other people's stuff. So,
That is all.
Or straight up stealing. Cyber Knights. No, they're not Jedis. They have cyber armor. See, they're completely different. They break the rules in all the different ways.
So he was not going to be this character was not going to be his father's preferred successor for the armor. His father died before he had any chance to produce any other heirs, and he kind of is all that's left.
Okay.
He's physically unfit for the job. He's a little scrawny, sickly kid. Took some battle damage. He's got, I assume, burn marks or scars or something like that from just the life.
He's not fast or strong or attractive.
Yeah, he's not any of these things. He's not the hero.
Other guy.
like if you take him out of the armor, he's not the hero of legend. And people will look at him and be like, you don't deserve this. And he's like, I will just keep trying.
Although he is crazy accurate. Like,
yes.
If he gets in a hand-to-hand fight, he could probably dodge or block a lot of it. So.
Yes, he has his strengths, and hopefully he will play to them.
Cool. All right. So, so we've established that you have a father.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any siblings?
That's a good question. The background supposes no, but if he had someone younger who couldn't have taken over piloting by the time that his dad died, because that's also going to be part of it, that would be kind of interesting. So we'll say younger sister.
Okay, younger sister.
Younger tomboy sister who's everything that he's not.
Younger sister, everything he's not. Nice. I like that. That's good. So, maybe she went off and joined a merc company because she didn't get the armor.
Okay. I sort of picture her as a little too young for that, but if she's fighting, then she's basically a child soldier.
Well, and it's Rift. Who could, like, when you're 14, 15, you're old enough, right? I don't know.
That's fair. She's that girl from True Grit. She's Maddie.
Yeah, okay, so we'll go with that. So, wait, maybe that's it. Maybe she's off hunting down whoever killed your father.
That would be cool. I'll go for that.
Maybe you're the more reasonable one who was like, no, we have to stay and defend this area because this is what my father promised to do.
Yep.
So that's a thing that can come back later, and we can use that. So,
yep,
in case it goes longer than 3 or 4 sessions, we can then have some fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting father's killer. And what is her name?
Oh, shit.
We can go with Maddie. That's a fine name.
Well, sure, we'll go for that.
All right. And do you have any friends in town? How long have you... I guess because your father died here, I imagine you've been here a while.
He would probably not have any friends as such. They would have had... They will have their camp built in like an abandoned or rundown sort of like ammunition dump or some abandoned military base like off in the woods. On his sheet, he's got like outdoorsman and wilderness survival and much of those skills. Basically, that's what he's out doing every day.
How about an old quarry and mine, an old mine or quarry?
Sure, I'll go for that. Somewhere where he could do at least basic repairs and maintenance on the suit because he has to.
Heck yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, it used to be a mine, and then your father moved in and set it up with, like, a shop. And
yeah, that works.
No real friends. Lives outside. So everybody kind of looks down on you a little bit, even though they need you. Like, you're useful, but they're like, your father was way better.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Alright, so lives outside of town in retrofitted quarry /shop. Okay,
yep.
So you've got a workshop outside of town in an old quarry. because that's nice and defensible. It's got big rocks on every side, and you're good to go. All right. Camden. What do we know about Camden?
Oh, I'm using the random tables to come up with some ideas.
I love the random tables.
Oh,
Are you fat or
it's
skinny?
great so far, actually. I found out that I'm the firstborn of twins.
So you're the firstborn of twins?
Yeah,
That's cool.
I'm older. Like 2 minutes. Let's see.
Fraternal or identical?
It didn't say, so
Well-
I'd say identical.
Is your brother a juicer too, or did he go another route?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know what? Brother probably went off because we live out here in the sticks, and he wanted to go provide. He probably went off and joined the coalition.
Ooh, nice. Joined coalition. We'll say he's a coalition scout.
All right.
Because you guys live out in the sticks. He's got you've got the skills.
Yep.
All right, so your
And let's
parents,
see how I feel about that.
are your parents still alive? Are they still around?
Yeah. Well, yeah, why not? Mom and Dad are still there at the homestead.
Still alive and have a homestead.
Yeah. They're lizard ranchers.
I'm done. Lizard Rancher works. So maybe they're across the hills away, so they don't actually. They live out on the flatter section of the area,
That'll work.
and then sell lizard hides and meat in town.
Sure.
We'll figure out what kind of lizards that is. Okay, so all right, so you're a juicer.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a choice a lot of people make. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think, why would he have done it? I know why I did it, but why would he have done it?
Well, it could be that when after your brother went off to go on a grand adventure, maybe a bunch of bandits attacked town, and you needed to get some kind of edge. And so you sold your services to one of the.
I've got even better.
Okay.
I went off after my brother, but got into trouble.
So you got forced to be a juicer?
Didn't get forced to be a juicer, but I got into enough trouble that I needed to find a way out of it.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
got in trouble out east?
Yeah. So I signed up for this, which got me back home, but now here I am.
Which means when you signed up for it, you probably had to sell away like a year or two of being a juicer into service.
Yeah.
So are you just coming back home then?
I'm thinking so, yeah. I probably just got back recently. Mom doesn't like what I've done to myself. But
Well-
Mom never bench press a Buick.
Parents don't like to see their kids die.
Silly, I tell you.
All right, so just arrived back home. Did you have a girl you left behind or friends? I mean, you grew up here, you grew up a rancher, you probably came into town, raised some heck every now and again with some.
Yeah, and I rolled. Apparently, I'm a hothead. So,
Okay.
I mean well, but I'm brash. Like, oh, who would have thought of that?
So we'll say maybe the sheriff knows you.
Yeah, definitely sheriff knows me. And yeah, I probably left friends behind who were part of the company that I was with while I was doing my servitude.
Okay.
But other than that, I probably didn't get out much.
So it was like the school teacher, the sheriff, deputies, and your friends, and a couple of ranch friends, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got lizard ranching. That's a thing now. Apparently, that's what a lot of the farmers do around here. So we've got some kind
Milk anything with teeth.
of cold climate lizards that somehow produce quite a bit of good meat or some such.
Maybe they're the size of Komodo dragons.
Yeah, I'm imagining something like that. You know, like, or maybe they call them lizards and they're actually dinosaurs or something. Or alien dinosaur-esque critters.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
So yeah, it's just they're called lizards, but they're actually big, dumb lizards from beyond the rifts. That
They probably eat more meat than they produce. To be honest, it's not really the best.
well, that's if they eat meat. They could be something like a omnivore that will eat just about anything. So you just throw. Most of the time, they just give it hay or something, and that's fine. But you also use them as dealing with slop, you know, leftover biological. They'll eat anything. All right, so we've got the lizards. And you're new back in town. Maybe actually you knew maybe Camden and Leonard knew each other back in the day. I mean, you're a hothead, and he's a responsible adult. So I'm sure at some point maybe you guys
Emphasis on doll.
Who let that runt have the keys?
All right, I'll be right back. I've got to use the bathroom. So.
There's a lot of bonuses. That was
Okay. So, all right, we've got your characters. Have you decided on how you know each other?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we just said, yeah, we probably know each other. Yeah, I mean,
You don't have to have specifics if you don't want. I'm just saying that might be a thing.
It would all to me, it'd be more interesting if he knew Leo's father, but didn't know that Leo had inherited the armor.
Okay,
yeah.
that'll work.
And as far as I know, Leo's just a little tiny runt, from what I understand.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. You remember him from your childhood with the pink bellies and the razzing and the whatnot.
Yep.
All right. So I think all right. So we've got some of the local things. We've got lizards. We've got a sheriff of some kind who probably also knew your father, Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Sheriff implies a mayor of some sort. So we'll go with the mayor. Although with such a small town, he doesn't really do much. We'll say he's also like the guy who owns the market. Like you guys have an election every year, but nobody really cares because there's like 150 people in the valley. So yeah, so Paradise is right along the banks of the Flathead. Yeah, the Flathead River. It's actually about half an hour to the west.
Just to let you guys know, my network is starting to cut out, so.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed. But yeah, actually, Paradise is about a half hour. If you actually want to look it up, look up Paradise, Montana on Google. You can find some actually really nice images of it. And it's a tiny town. I've driven past like at least once or twice a year, and I always find it funny. Because it's literally a town so small you could spit across it. So, yeah, there's the remnants of the old road. There's a bridge that used to cross the river, and now it's kind of broken down and rusted. It's basically just the foundations of the bridge are all that's left. So we've got a market and a sheriff's office, mayor. The town's much closer together now than it used to be. Overall, yeah, that's what we have. All right, so we'll say Camden, you've just come back into town from probably visiting your folks, and it is we'll say first couple weeks of spring, somewhere in there. So still a bit of a chill in the air, and it is time to bring. It's one of the times they bring in the lizards into town for slaughter at the slaughterhouse. So we've got a slaughterhouse.
There we go.
Which means there's a lot more folk in town from the outside areas, as well as from the two big tribal nations around you. There's the Salish Kootenai just north of you, and the Blackfoot from even further north. Or Blackfeet. I've never gotten that one down right. It's either Blackfoot or Blackfeet.
All right.
I've heard it both ways, so I don't know. But yeah, they have all the they have superior technology and lots of magic, and so they're kind of the powerhouse in the region. They control Great Falls, which is these big falls on the Missouri River, and they use that to power a lot of their stuff. But they send guys down to pick up meat for their supplies.
Good.
And Leonard, you're in town, and your sister has just left on her trail of vengeance.
Okay.
So we'll say your father died, what, say 6 months ago?
Sure. Yeah, pretty recently.
And yeah, so you've just had probably a big fight with your sister. And she stormed out. So
He came in to pick up some supplies, saw her packing up with these guys.
You're like, hey, what are you doing? So yeah, that's where we're at. So let's go through. What is your average day like in town? What do you guys do? Should nothing go wrong, what is it that you do?
Leo's average day would be coming into town for supplies. He would not typically be here, but he might be hanging out around the edge of the town just to kind of keep an eye on what's going on. So people might see him off in the distance, or if there's some tall area that he could climb and use for surveillance, he'd be doing that.
Okay, so he's not in his glitter boy.
Ordinarily, probably not. It doesn't seem like the sort of thing that you normally pilot around. You can, from what I understand, but he's still new to it.
Okay,
it's still something that he's been taught to treat it with reverence. It has more history than he ever will, and so he is trying to respect that.
Cool, and that's something
but he probably keeps it
go along too. You could tell stories of your great-great-grandfather and all of that sort of thing. Like, well, he used this in the Battle of Muddy Hole.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you're trying to be serious about the job. So you're manning the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm guessing then you're probably wearing your normal body armor then.
Yeah.
And you have your laser pistol or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still going through that list, but I'll have that in a minute.
Okay, no worries. Oh, you got the Bushman. That's my favorite armor too. All right, and Camden, what would your normal day be? I guess this is your first day back, so it's...
Yeah, as you say, being back, man, it's different. But
Yeah, I mean,
it's
the smells are the same, the town is the same, but somehow it looks smaller to you. You know?
Well, not only that, I've been gone for so long. Man, it's small, it's quiet, it's cleaner. Even though we're in the middle of the dirt road, it's cleaner than where I'm used to.
Yeah, although the smell of lizard blood kind of gets in the air during slaughter season, so it's
Still cleaner. Yeah.
but it's got that thick smell in the air, you know, and it's not dusty because the snows have just started to recede, so you've got, I mean, down on the valley floor you're fine, but there's still plenty of snow up in the hills, and it's still a good crisp 50 to 60 degrees, depending on what time of day and how much sunlight you got.
Definitely. Even though this place reminds me of home, I'm probably a little bit on edge. I've been gone for a while, just that kind of time changes you. So I'm probably looking around, darting around, and I might recognize some faces without being able to immediately put names or memories to them. But man, we're just taking the lizards in there, and this is really boring. I'm probably itching to look for something.
Well, yeah, the old sheriff, and he's still the same guy he was, kind of comes up on you, and he's like, well, guessing you're back then.
Oh, shit. Sharon Mayweather.
All right, Mayweather, good to know. He's like, well, just so long as you don't get up to no ruckus, we'll be fine.
Now, Sheriff, I never caused any ruckus. I was just the guy that was still standing around after the other guys caused ruckus. I told you once.
Oh, I'm sure that's the case. How's the wide world?
It's a scary, dirty place out there. It's good to be home.
Well, say hi to your folks for me.
Oh, definitely. I'll tell him, Sheriff Mayweather. Back in Waco, please don't let this... Here I am, a juicer, but Sheriff Mayweather still holds some power over me.
Well, yeah, he's got a rifle and everything.
I'm really not too worried about that.
Well, he's never had to draw down on anybody. He's just the right sort. You can see across the way to the mayor's mansion, which is, the only two-story house in town. Where he's talking with representatives of the Salish Kootenai and Blackfoot, and they're, pointing out various head of lizard. And he's got his thumbs in his suspenders and everything. Very important, puffed up. Shelby, we'll go with. So yeah, overall it's a very nostalgic day. Reminds you of your childhood, that sort of thing. All right, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
You see a bit of a from your vantage point in. We'll say actually you have a bunch of tree stands around town. So it's not like you're climbing up in trees, but you've got like little ladders and platforms all over, so you can stand up there and use your binoculars.
Mm-hmm.
You see a commotion at one end of town. Again, it's not a huge town, so it's not that far away. It looks like 6 or 7 ranch hands are all running to see what's what in a specific place, and they're calling out to various people.
Okay, I'll train my scope on that.
All right, so yeah, when you're doing what?
I'll train my binoculars on that where they seem to be running to.
Yeah, and it's there appears to be a person kind of collapsed on the ground.
Okay. I will hop down and try to run over there.
All right. When you get over there, you see it's one of the ranch owners from farther out. One of farther south, where there really isn't a whole lot. So one of the new folk, you hadn't really met her yet, but she keeps talking about how her husband's missing, and it looks like you have wilderness skills and stuff, right? Let's see here.
He's gonna get in. He's gonna get jostled by these guys and get knocked to the ground, but he'll still keep listening.
Yeah, go ahead and roll your wilderness survival.
Okay. So that's a secondary skill. You said 12 plus on D20 succeeds.
Yeah, and it'll be for perception. So we'll say that'll be based on IQ.
Okay.
So
basically,
if you have a plus there, you can add it.
Okay. So Dice Stream is new to me, so I'm going to roll the D20 and say 10 plus succeeds because that's, you know, 12 plus minus 2 is 10. Nope.
Okay. You do get jostled around a bit. Nobody takes you any seriously as you're trying to push through and find out what's going on.
But he's distracted by.
Yeah, but she keeps saying that her husband is missing, and it looks like she ran all the way here from her thing, which is it's quite a ways. It's a good 10-mile run. So, all right, Cameron. Camden is also basically everybody's starting to notice at this point that something's going on in the south end of town.
Oh boy. Suppose I should go check that out.
Yeah, the sheriff actually starts heading that way too. In his unhurried hurry that you recognize from the old days, where he's not looking like he's hurrying, but he's moving as quick as he can.
Oh, what the hell! I probably can help myself and just take off that way.
Yeah, well, it's something to do, right?
Yeah, dart between people. Well, remember, I'm constantly got amphetamine just flowing through my system too. So.
Well, that's what the mini comp is for. It helps regulate that.
Right. I have to take drugs to go to sleep.
Who doesn't? All right. So yeah, the sheriff gets there, Leo, and starts pushing guys aside. Hey, give her some room. Give her some room. Let me get in there, and they instantly back off from the sheriff.
I'm peeking over shoulders.
Yeah, the stuff he gave me, it doesn't.
And he's like, all right, ma'am, what happened? And she starts telling the story about middle of the morning, or middle of the early morning. It was still dark out. Something was making horrible noises in the woods, and the lizards were spooked, which both of you know. Lizards don't spook. I mean, they're really dumb.
Yeah.
So it's whatever it was really. It must have smelled terrible or something, and making horrible noises. And her husband went out to check on the herd of lizards, and then there were horrible noises and pounding at the doors and at the windows. And then when the light came up, she couldn't find any sign of her husband, and she ran straight here. So the sheriff's like, all right. He's like, most of you get back to it. I'm gonna need a posse of, I don't know, 5-6 guys. Anybody's got a gun? Like, yes, Leo. Go get your gear.
The sheriff not be on the same
kind of shake his head as you run off. And he's like, well, Camden, looks like you picked the right day to come back.
You letting the place go to hell while I was gone, Sheriff?
As far as I know, everything's been fine while you were gone.
Ooh.
You come back, all of a sudden everything falls apart. All right, so let's head out. And he passes the lady off to the local doctor, make sure she's okay.
Knew I forgot to say first aid.
So, and Cameron, does your character have some kind of vehicle?
You know what? No, I guess not.
Okay. Well, I'm sure your family has horses and whatnot, so we'll say you've got a horse. And so long as you don't have to ride it with any degree of speciality, you should be fine.
Can I offer an alternative at this point?
Sure.
As Camden's getting ready to ride out, the sheriff's getting ready. Leo comes riding back with this weird, lizard-like horse analog creature, some weird alien thing that came through, pulling a wagon, and on the back of the wagon is the armor.
Okay.
He's like, "Come on aboard, let's go."
That's a lot better than me having to ride one of those damn lizards.
So yeah, you and the sheriff and a couple of his deputies start heading out that way. Now it's going to take a while because again it's 10 miles. So here would be a great time for you guys to converse or have a scene together, should you want. Otherwise we can skip straight to.
Leonard, where the hell are your daddy? He can beat your ass if he finds you playing around with that armor.
I don't think that's going to happen, sir.
You don't? Hell, your sister would have been a fine bit mightier to go in there than you. What are you doing with it?
I'm staying here and taking care of the house while she, I guess, rode off this morning.
She rode off.
Well,
why'd she do that?
To avenge my dad. I tried to stop her, but she wouldn't hear it.
Your dad? He's gone?
Sir?
Oh, boy. Oh, sorry about that. No offense, man.
Well, the armor needs somebody. I got to do it.
What happened to him?
You better ask her because she was there for it, sir. But I guess you can't because she's gone now.
He's looking for the man who shot her paw.
Well, I'm glad that you're back, and I will do what I can to support you, sir.
Oh, boy. You want to take the safety off of that thing? Look at it.
I think you better take the reins because I'm going to start strapping in, all right?
Okay.
You're going to hop off and get back in, start suiting up.
I'm just shaking my head the whole time thinking, we's all going to die.
All right. So you get suited up.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you get it all, because it takes a little while to get into the suit, by the time you get it all up and going, you've arrived at the farmhouse. Her story seems to check out. The door and windows are all scratched up, pretty seriously too, like something really strong was digging at it. You don't see any obvious signs of anything right outside. The lizards are out wandering. Apparently, they got out of the pen.
Oh, boy.
So, I guess now comes the eponymous, what do you do?
Let's see. We have full optical systems, including passive night vision, thermal imaging, infrared, ultraviolet, and all that kind of stuff.
You've got all the same.
All I can think to do to start with is to see if anything's still around, see if I can pick up any heat sources or anything like that.
Okay.
I expect not.
Yeah, you got lizards, which are kind of screwing with your ability to detect, but you have sensor systems, right? The skill?
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll that then.
Okay.
Read sensory equipment. And we'll say use your intelligence.
Okay.
I got perception with them, so
You have perception?
I have +2 to perception
That
apparently.
was a 1. So yeah, I'm distracted by the lizards.
No, you still detect some stuff. It's just, well, let's see. You detect several humanoid forms
Mhm.
about half a mile off,
Okay.
heavily armed, and moving as if they're trying to be stealthy.
Okay.
So that's
telescopic. Can I zoom? All right.
nope, because that's where your problem comes in.
Oh man.
All the trees and whatnot in the way, you can't see who it is or what they are.
Okay.
But you can tell that they're vaguely humanoid based on heat signatures.
Okay.
And
I will point them out and just say like, there's something over there.
Alright. Alright, so
I love this up and down rolling. By the way, this is great. I love this.
alright, Cameron. What is Camden up to?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I'm probably gonna try. Not much of a tracker or finder. They just point me in a direction. So, I'm gonna go. Okay, look around, walk around the perimeter a bit with my rifle ready.
Okay. Alright, so what is a good skill for looking around for you?
Don't really have a good skill for it. All I know is I got +2 to perception, but other than that, I'm like,
Okay, so +2, and then we'll say intelligence as well. So if you're
I got no bonuses there. That's okay.
So we'll say, yeah, you got a +2. Perception, we're going to say is a straight 10+ for everybody, because that's not actually a skill they have in here.
Okay.
But, you know, 308 skills, why would you need to put perception in there?
I got 13.
All right, 13. So you discover something by the fodder barn, where by the silos and stuff, where they keep all of the feed and animal maintenance stuff. You find scratches that aren't the same as the scratches in the door. It looks like somebody was dragged away from the silo and was basically clutching and dragging it off, and there's blood all around.
Oh, that's
Not a lot of blood, but enough that you notice.
Yeah, I'd probably be able to at least decipher between that guy's dead and, hey, he might still be alive. Uh-oh. I'll call out, hey, over here.
And sheriff and his deputies come on over. What do you got there, Camden?
Blood.
That's not good.
Yeah, not typically.
And he's like, all right, man, get your guns out, get ready. And so his deputies start checking all their equipment. Because, I mean, they've lived out in the wilderness for a while now, you know.
Right.
You know when it's time to get ready to shoot something, just in case.
Oh, yeah. At the same time, I'm thinking, if that thing, if it looks like it was dragged away from the house, if I kind of follow in that general direction, maybe I'll come across something more. This is how my brains work.
Yeah. So, all right, and then, so, and you told them that there's guys coming, right, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what do you guys, I guess, discuss? What do you guys think you're going to do about these group of 2 or 3 guys, 3 guys, we'll say?
Oh, there's a guy's coming. I did miss that. So.
Yeah.
I knew you had told him. I didn't catch him say. My bad.
3 heavily armed guys coming this way.
Oh, from which direction?
From south and east a bit.
Well,
And there's you know this land. There's nothing south. Not until you hit Colorado almost. It's pretty much, not dead or anything. It's just nobody really lives there outside of the odd wizard or dragon or
Wizard farmer.
other thing that can live on its own out in the woods. So.
Right. Well then, hell, I think I'm going to head that way, because that isn't what we like to call in business an immediate threat.
I
I'm
will
gonna try
follow
it
along.
that way, but also kind of try and look for cover. I'm guessing it's probably going to be behind a tree.
All right.
I will try to stay back enough that I can provide covering fire for him and not quite give away the game. Like if someone sees this giant shimmering armor come along the road, they're going to know what's up. But I would rather they meet me first than the sheriff first, in case they're thinking of starting something. So that's kind of my mindset.
The sheriff, when you mentioned that that's what you'd like, he kind of shakes his head, like he doesn't really think you can do it. But he's like, all right. And so he waves his deputies back.
Mm-hmm.
Camden, are you going to go along with that, or?
Thinking. Yeah, I really don't want to be in front of this guy with the glitter boy gun.
Well, especially now that it's even more powerful, because I've added an extra die to the damage.
I think that's bad. I'm looking in the book. Half
Sorry.
the stuff they gave me isn't in the book.
The what now?
Like half the stuff that they gave me isn't described under their equipment section, like my pistol.
Well, what is your pistol?
It's the juicer pistol.
Huh. I know the juicer rifle's in here.
Yeah, I got the juicer rifle. Mind you, I'm looking at the ultimate, not. I probably need
Yeah,
to go.
no, I'm looking here. Juicer energy rifle, variable laser rifle. No juicer pistol here either.
Yeah.
We'll pick a pistol. You can have the pistol. The pistol you want. That's the one you have.
It's just we'll just give it. Looks like the other pistols in here. Looks like 2d4 would be about average.
Yeah, so that'll be 3d4 now. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Whereas the boom gun is absolutely terrifying now, because that's 46 times 10 mega damage.
I did take a submachine gun, but I don't think I ever used it. I just got it because it looks cool.
Yeah.
This book has it at 3d6 times 10. I'm okay with staying there, but you know.
Well, it's just one of the big problems I've always had with this is that combat doesn't have any interesting tactical choices. It's basically just you hit them and hit them and hit them until they fall down. And I'm like, okay, if that's what we want to do, we should make offense more damaging, because then combat's over quicker. I'm keeping the bad guys you'll face, their damage is going to stay the same, but basically it's just giving you a little bit of an edge.
I know it's like,
Sure, I'll take it.
Because again, you got to remember, even the Samus, I think, has 280 MDC or something like that. It can take a couple of direct hits from a boom gun, and that just seems to me a little ridiculous.
I get 8 attacks around. Bring it on.
It's like, boom, 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 boom. What are you doing? I'm killing everything. That's my move. Yeah, Samus has 250 main body, which is
Okay.
That's a lot.
You got more attacks than me? What did I do wrong?
All right. So you stand out in clearing, and these fellas come out, and you've actually, Leo, you've never seen armor like this. It's weird. It's black and white and has weird skull shapes on it. Looks really, really evil.
I'll bet it does. Old style or new style?
New style, because it's post Siege on Tolkien. So yeah, it's
So
actually pretty
deserters.
evil looking. Like these are skeleton warriors coming out of the woods. What do you do?
Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it.
Kill it with fire.
I
I'm
knew
gonna hold up my hand and be like, "Y'all gotta stop. Hang on."
And yeah, I mean they're not surprised to see you. They probably saw you a while back, but
Yeah, they didn't fail their.
you're a big, shiny Ziggy Stardust-looking robot. So, but they spread out into a formation, and their leader, I guess, comes forward. And he's like, identify yourself in the name of the Coalition. Now, you've heard of the Coalition because you've had some refugees from Tolkien come passing through, and a few even settled out here. So you've got a few DBs and magic users out in the hills around town.
Not just that Leo is literate; he's probably read some stuff. Amazing.
Yeah, you're aware of things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm the Glitter Boy pilot defending Paradise, and I would like to escort you to our sheriff if you've got business with our town.
He waves to his guys, and they put their guns up. And he says, all right. And I imagine at this point the sheriff comes out and sits down, and he's like, well, my name is Colonel Lundquist. And we're part of the 5th Scouting Regiment. Basically sent out to map the area and to make sure there are no threats to the Coalition or to humanity as a whole. And he takes off his helmet. He's kind of young to be a colonel, actually. And his 2 compatriots, one of them is weird, is bald and has tattoos all over his face. And the other one is a dog boy, and you've heard of them. Actually, neither of you have ever seen one before. But it's a big old bulldog dog boy. Always sniffing the air, looking around.
Hey, fella.
He wants to pat about that.
That's going to go well. Who's a good boy? Bad dog boy. No shooting me with lasers. No biscuit.
It's his first instinct, I'm sorry.
And dog boy. All right. So they're kind of tentative about giving any information about where exactly their base camp is or what they've been doing. You can see the sheriff doesn't quite trust them. And they're wondering what you guys are doing out here. Unless one of you wants to talk, then the sheriff is just going to explain the situation. But okay, yeah, the sheriff explains the situation, that there's a missing man out, and they're like, well, we haven't seen anything, but we'll radio, we'll patch into your frequency, and we'll radio in if we find anything. And then they're basically going to move on. That's their move. And the sheriff invites them, says, hey, we've got food and whatnot. Should you guys need to buy anything, we've got a town up north. So they now know where the town is.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Hey, just because the Coalition are Nazis doesn't mean they're bad guys, right?
Oh, that's why I'm wondering this whole time.
That's exactly what that means.
I'm pretty sure that I've had run-ins with them before, and it hasn't gone well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were a mercenary during the siege on Tolkien.
Yeah.
We could say that's where you made it. You made it to Minnesota. So you saw the very tail end of the siege on Tolkien, and you're like, oh, crap.
Trying out that prowl skill. You don't see me.
Anyway, so what is your next move? The Coalition troops thank the sheriff and are planning on moving on.
I'm going to go see if I can follow that trail of blood.
Okay, so you're going to track the blood. We'll say that your roll carries forward because that seems to make sense. Unless you want to do a wilderness survival roll.
No, you know what I mean.
Actually, Leo, you could do it.
I will give it a shot. Any stat bonus?
This one is, it'll still be IQ.
Okay. So 10 or better succeeds, and I get a broken image on Dice Stream. If you can see the roll, tell me what I got.
11?
11.
I made it.
All right. So, yeah, you can actually, your sensors pick up the blood almost, it still picks up bits of the heat, and you're actually, it has all kinds of analysis features, so it's pulling up data
Okay.
and everything.
Okay.
And the blood trail is pretty
easy. Have any kind of like goggles or heads-up display or computer with him?
Who? Oh.
Does Camden have any kind of equipment, like goggles or heads-up display or computer or something like that he carries?
If you had a multi-optics helmet.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. If you have any such thing, I'll try to slave what I see into you so you can follow that as well. But yeah.
You got a portable Earth kit. Well, you do
I
have
have an optics helmet. Yep.
Okay.
the multi-optics helmet. Also grants you a +1 to shooting. By the
Because I need that.
the optics helmet is like it's the thing you have to buy. Again, it's like boxing. It's one of those things you don't really notice until you see it, and then you're like, why would I not buy this? Why would I not have this every single time? So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you got multi-optics helmet, probably over your mohawk, because all juicers have mohawks.
It's a spiky haircut.
He's gonna be that one juicer has the mohawk to the side. And just goes
No, one juice, the emo juicers. They're with the shaved heads, except for just all kind of drooping down. All right. So so you guys are heading off. It's pretty easy to follow with your sensors and everything, and you find him out in the forest. Again, after the rifts came, the forests and the landscape changed fairly significantly. So these are bigger trees than would normally be in this region. These are big old sequoia-style trees, so 200-300 feet tall.
No.
Which is really weird when you think that they're less than 400 years old. Somehow they're this tall. But rifts. You follow the trail and it goes right up the side of a tree. And you can see it on your telescoping magnification thing.
No.
Bits of him are hung over a branch, like a leopard ate him or something and was saving him for later.
Hey, that's no good.
Also bits of lizard, too. It looks like several of them are hanging from the trees. Again, it's almost like maybe like I don't know if you guys know about shrikes, how they'll pin things to thorn bushes so that they can eat them later. It's like that. The whole tree is kind of like a butcher tree. Full of lizard parts, bear parts, and man bits.
Huh.
And at that, I think we're at the end of our session. So, who's up for another game sometime? All right.
So far, so good.
Yeah. So next Wednesday doesn't work for Bill.
Yep.
What times when are you guys free at various times?
Monday.
My weeknights are pretty open, so.
You got Mondays and Tuesdays are pretty taken up.
So would Friday night work?
Yeah.
Depends on the time. If it's 7 or 8 o'clock, that's fine. I can't really go earlier on Fridays.
Okay, and what zone are you in?
I'm Pacific time. I'm in Seattle.
Oh.
Okay, so I was just there for ECC.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. So does 8? I'm Mountain Time, so would 7 o'clock your time work then? Which
That will be fine.
8 my time, and we'll count that as tentative and see if Frank can make it.
Yeah, hopefully he can.
Weekend, so in theory, the train schedule shouldn't affect him then. So not this Friday, but next Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
So how'd the game go? Did it work?
Yeah. Hey, we didn't do much earlier or anything, but it makes sense. Without having to worry about those percentages and whatnot, just knowing, okay, the pluses are definitely easier to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was kind of my aha moment when I was thinking about it, where I was like, wait a minute, I could just treat them like psychic saving throws, because there are 3 levels of that. where it's 50.
I will say that, it does concern me, because what concerns me is that, and I guess this was a problem with Rifts itself, is, I'm looking at, so for example, to save versus a lot of things, I have a plus 16.
Yeah, I don't see that as
I have to botch my roll pretty much and not save against a lot of things.
I don't see that as I see that as a feature, not a bug.
It's an undocumented
like it fits. Like, it fits in the design aesthetic of Rifts, where it's like, no, of course, some characters are just better than, and juicers really are kind of like the outer edge of human possibility,
Yeah.
Them and crazies are way fun. I always enjoyed playing crazies, because especially for the first level before you start going nuts, you're just a hoot to play, because you're like, I'm just better than everybody at everything.
The full conversion board, you don't have to feel bad about laying waste to an entire village.
Yeah, and so I think, honestly, yeah, that's kind of a big part of this is the power fantasy, and part of that power fantasy is laying down a baseline and then allowing you to just be way better than that baseline. Just be like, here's normal people. You don't have to worry about their problems.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about this problem at all, really. Like, I imagine you're not that great at saving versus psychic, though, right?
Yep.
Or magic. Well, magic is...
See, magic, no.
So, yeah, I mean, you've got that going on. So I think it'll all work out.
Yeah, I've got plus 16. No, I've got a plus.
I kind of want to put a wizard out in the hills somewhere.
That crazy old wizard.
Yeah, like that. Basically, he's a wizard who's set up shop, and the town goes to him when they need stuff, but
no,
nobody really likes him. Like,
that was my horrible Star Wars reference.
Oh, I got it.
I got it. It was that
I
bad.
think you died about the same time as your father.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, no. Otherwise, it's it's going smooth now. I think.
Well, this was kind of a setup scene too. Like, the whole thing was set up the get the ball rolling, and so that way everything just falls apart next session.
Yeah, I think it's. I think it ought to be interesting,
Well, I mean, we've got plenty of really interesting characters, some nice locations. We've got the farmstead, we've got your farmstead, we've got your quarry, we've got the slaughterhouse, the river, the mayor's mansion, sheriff's office. We've got the sheriff and the mayor, as well as now the crazy old wizard and Colonel Lundquist.
And the bulldog dog boy.
Yeah, and his Psystalker pal.
Yep. I thought that was the Psystalker.
Also fun to play.
Oh, yeah, Psystalkers are great. I always played a Doberman dog boy, though.
I was always a German Shepherd. That was my move.
You were loyal.
Well, the fun part about dog boys is they seriously have all the interesting powers that are just like, they don't work the way the other powers work. And that's funny to me. Like, it's just like every single class isn't just an exception to the rule. It's a whole new rule set. Like, it's like, well, this works like that until you're here, and then it just works in a completely different way.
Well, plus,
Actually,
I think it's
magic spells like that too, that just don't interact with the rules the same way at all.
No, that's true. I also think it's the only class that comes fully equipped with vibro claws. And how could you
Vibro claws, yes, because being Wolverine is awesome.
Yeah. Who's a ninja, by the way, or a samurai.
Yeah, he's a ninja samurai,
Yeah.
Canadian super soldier,
Immortal.
like you do. No, you want to know the funny thing about Wolverine? You want to know why he exists today? Because back in the 80s, they were going to kill either Wolverine or Thunderhawk. What was his name? The Native American was super straight.
Yeah.
They were going to kill one of those in New X-Men, and the guy who was who had to make the decision was Canadian. So he decided to save Wolverine.
Yeah.
So he is directly responsible for all the Wolverine fetishizing, because, yeah, he's a ninja. He's not a ninja in that sense, but he's a ninja in the sense of if you had him in a game, that's the role he would be. The guy who goes off on his own, has the cool backstory that nobody ever learns anything about, and, and everything focuses on them.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem, it sounds like.
I found a solution for that, by the way, in a tabletop style game that I'm running or playing in Tavern Keeper. The GM started and said, we're going to use Arrow and other stuff as inspiration. So I said, okay, I'm creating a light-bending ninja superhero character. But like every scene that she's in, she has a link to a journal post, which is like, and here's my backstory. And you get to see it as the audience's perspective. So the players get to see it, even if the characters don't.
I think there's been a lot of great movement. Like, I think Smallville does a great job where you could do a whole group of ninjas who all hate each other and don't get along and don't hang out with each other, but you're forced to because drama.
The new side.
Honestly, ninjas aren't even my biggest problem. Like, Dritz clones aren't my biggest problem. My biggest problem are the people with no family, no friends, no connection to the world around them, who just like wandering around and killing.
Murder hobos.
Yeah, but not even. Like, murder orphans. They're just...
They're murder orphan hobos. There you go.
Because they're just like, I'm like, okay, why are you doing anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, well, who killed your parents? Nobody. They died of old age. Okay. How do you feel about that? I'm fine with that. Okay. Like, you're just like, why? And I think it's because there have been a lot of really bad GMs out there who have effectively abused their players. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you they didn't know. Because, again, I was a GM for 3 years before I played for the first time. I had absolutely no idea how to GM. I was making it up as I went along. And, yeah, all of my friends had played before, and they made me run it because they didn't want to. So I made every newbie mistake. I was an abusive GM for about 5 years before I realized what I was doing, because I didn't know, and they didn't know. We were all kind of new. Like, they played 1 or 2 games, and so we sat down and like, oh, okay, I guess my GM NPC saves the day, and oh no, you're on a rail. There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex out there. If you try to go, it'll eat you. So you have to follow my plan. And yeah.
What's funny though is he only played for the first time like last week. So
I only played, actually, seriously. I started GMing when I was about 13, back in 1994 or 93, somewhere in there, about 7th or 8th grade. And I didn't play in a game until I played Rifts, which was, I was 16 because I had to have a car. So yeah, I was 16 years old. So it was 3 years, and that's, or 2.5 maybe, I guess, if you start trying to do the math. But it's one of those things. It's like that is like, I get that I have a very weird experience with gaming, because I guess other people learned how to play before they learned how to GM. So.
I think I GM'd right from the beginning pretty much myself. But, you know, I know people, because they had other GMs before me, and everyone else ran the modules and railroaded, and I didn't do that right from the get-go. People were like, what are you doing? What do you mean we have options? I don't understand this.
I always ran super cinematic, because I learned how to from West End Games, Star Wars. Because that was the only GM's guide I'd ever read that had actual advice on how to GM. Because I read all of the TSR AD&D second books, all of them. I can still calculate THAC0 in my head, but I never ran it because nobody wanted to play that. We all wanted to play Palladium or Star Wars or Traveller. So, like, Mark Miller's Traveller had a lot of decent advice, but Star Wars had really good advice. TSR's Dungeon Master's Guide had no advice at all on how to run a game. It
had rules on how to set up the dungeon.
Yeah, no, it had rules. It had rules for, like, how to populate a city or how to set up a dungeon, but it didn't tell you actually what your job was. Like, as a GM, what do you do? And that's one of those things that's like, honestly, you didn't really start seeing good versions of that until late into the 2000s. I think D&D 4th was the first really good DMG I ever saw.
Yeah.
Because 3rd edition's D&D or DMG was, again, it was just how to set up a town, how to set up a dungeon.
Yep.
Which means, I guess, you make towns and dungeons. That's what a GM does, I guess. I don't know. So, whereas the 4th DMG was like, no. This is what you do. Here are the different ways you can do it. And now here are the fun tools for doing that. And then you're like, oh, okay, this all kind of fits. And even then, it was still kind of aimed at a more advanced, somebody who'd actually done it before.
Yeah.
Apocalypse World, really, I think, was the first one I saw that just sat you down and said, no, this right here is the procedure for GMing. Do this. Don't do anything else, just do this. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I was, again, as I was rereading Rifts, I was shocked because I was like, how did I learn how to play this? How did I learn how to run this? Because the only thing I had when I first picked up Robotech was their standard boilerplate on what is an RPG, right?
Right.
So, and that's, I'm trying to find it now on the, because it's in all of their stuff. Like, imagine a place, imagine a time, imagine an opponent, or something like that. And in the last one, then it says, imagine somebody, somebody who runs all of that. And so that paragraph was my only advice on GMing until I got to Star Wars, which had not the best advice, but it had advice. It had actually a section on how to do it. But I was reading through this and I was like, how did I learn how to play this game? Because it doesn't make any sense. Well, in the order it's presented. Like, again, go through character creation, right? Your step 1, do attributes. Okay, that makes sense. Step 2, hit points and SDC. That doesn't, because you need to run through your occupational character class or racial character class before this. So, okay, skip that. Step 3, mega damage and MDC. That also comes from your occupational character class. All right. Determine psionics. Well, first off, you need to know if your class has psionics before you can determine if you have them. So, again, then step 5 really should be step 2.
And then you're trying to make sense of Palladium. That's wrong.
I've been doing it since I was 13.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the thing. I picked it up too, and somehow it made sense to my adolescent mind. That was...
I really think they've channeled the 13-year-old me somehow. The idea of me just being like, yes, I need more lists of guns that are basically exactly the same. Like, you really want the best gun and armor list in the game? It's in the source book. It's Rift Source Book 1. In the questions thing, it basically says, this is what light armor is, and this is the range. This is what heavy armor is, this is the range. This is what medium armor is, this is the range. These are the standard shots for pistols and rifles. And you're like, oh, well, why wasn't that in there?
I used a collection of those books. So I had the Palladium Guide to Modern Arms.
Well, yeah,
it was a thick book of just.
Yeah, no, I think I still have that one somewhere. Actually, I like their book on castles and.
Oh, the smaller ones, their chap books, yeah.
Yeah, they're weird settingless, semi-history books that don't really do much, but I like them. Like, again, though, I think honestly it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness that woke me up and made me want to fix the system, because that game was so close to exactly what I wanted. But
see, the one thing I really enjoyed from TMNT was the randomness. Oh man, the randomness there.
Oh, I loved that.
I miss rolling for that. That's one of the reasons that I made a few Hackmaster characters over the weekend.
Yeah,
I never get a chance to play it, but the random stuff there, like I had to roll stuff for my character's background and all this stuff, and it was like, wow, I forgot how much fun that is.
Well, I did something
for it.
That was actually part of what drew me to design Where the Antelope Play. Was I wanted to make lots and lots of random charts that would be fun. You know, like not just because again, I think that's part of the problem with a lot of random charts is you get the Rollmaster syndrome, where you've got 1,000 charts that all do roughly the same thing and aren't all that interesting, outside of the critical hits charts, which are
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Arguably.
yeah, but the actual hit charts are just almost exactly the same from weapon to weapon, but combat what was it, Combat Master, whatever they call the combat book. It's just a big list of weapon charts that are all almost the same but are slightly different, and you're like, how would I ever figure this out? You know,
Onslaught.
Yeah. Well, you know, yeah, the randomness, like even to the point where the first character I made, what did he end up being? He was a wizard. He was an elitist, sexist. Well, they call it chivalrous, but it was not real chivalry. As a matter of fact, they call elitism, what do they call it, chauvinist.
So you're a chauvinist against everybody. No, I'm just better than you. I can't help it.
He was really an elitist. If it's not from his home, it sucks. And yeah, he always had to hold the door and treat women in a particular way. That was the other thing. I forget. There was two other things, and I can't remember one of them. But the other one was he's a wizard with no depth perception. No fireball.
Well, I guess that's better.
Look out.
But
I would have never made that character on my own, but rolling that is like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Also, by the by, if you're playing a Palladium game and you're a wizard, take Lightning Bolt. It does not have an attack roll. It auto hits, and it does more damage than a fireball.
Yep.
It's an auto hit, auto hit for max damage. It's like why would I? No, it's like Carpet of Adhesion, Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
Because Carpet of Adhesion is just the most broken spell in the game.
I remember Carpet of Adhesion. I remember Lightning Bolt quite well.
Yeah, no, Lightning Bolt is just horrid, especially at higher levels.
And that was the first thing my tech
right.
wizards would always make.
I've got to give experience, right? We don't just do the Fate style experience. We have real experience.
Oh, where's it go on this damn sheet? There's too much stuff on the sheet. Oh, there it is.
Okay, but I am going to change the levels. It's just level times 1,000 is going to be amount of experience required for that level. So you get to 1,000, then you're at level 2. You get 2,000, then you're at level 3. That sort of thing.
Okay.
So just because otherwise you'll never level up. So let's see here. Blah blah blah.
Carry the 2.
No, I actually like the experience points table. I think it's poorly put together, but I like it.
Well, I like their. The other thing that I liked that they did well was their alignment descriptions. So much better than D&D alignments.
Well, I kind of agree, but I also kind of think that they're all over the place and arbitrary, like everything else. Like it. Why is principled and scrupulous good? Unprincipled is selfish, which isn't evil, but like a lot of these don't make a lot of sense as to why they're called what they're called. Or
I'll give you that. What I like is the bullet point lists.
Oh yeah, no, the bullet point list is handy, and I think it could be done better. So I think this is like.
Well, same reason I like the paths from.
Yeah, if you could combine this and D&D's alignment and paths somehow into something that's like a real crazy morality system.
Oh, yeah.
I've always said is D&D's alignment system is great, but it's never been used. Even when it's being used, it's never really been like if D&D's alignment system were like the paths in Vampire, because it's one of those things that's completely unique to D&D, right? The D&D world, morality exists external to everything, including the gods. Like it's and nobody's gone into that. Nobody's explored that space. Like this is a thing, All right, so I'm thinking 250 XP.
Okay. I will say that I recently reread the alignments again. I think I read what they put out for 5th edition. Actually, sat down and read it. And realized, gee, just about every character I've ever played is technically lawful evil.
Every character I've ever played is chaotic neutral.
See, I take that back. I have played a few chaotic neutral.
I just do whatever occurs to me whenever it occurs to me to do it.
So what are you playing? A bipolar character with poor impulse control? Oh, chaotic neutral.
You can't prove I'm bipolar. That's just one of my personalities. No, I actually have to take that back. There is one setting D&D did that actually dealt with alignment in an interesting way, and that's Planescape.
Yeah. Okay.
And anybody who says they hate alignment, I like to say, have you ever played Planescape?
Yes, but I hate Planescape.
Because Planescape is amazing.
I could see you doing Spelljammer, though.
Oh my gosh, I love Spelljammer.
Yeah.
I will play the heck out of that. You give me the right rule set. And it honestly, probably the right rule set would be Swashbucklers of the Seven Skies, or something like that. Because Spelljammer doesn't really work with the D&D rule set, because that's too nitty gritty and down to earth. Spelljammer needs basically a really hand-wavy, loose system. Maybe Tales from the Floating Vagabond or Baron Munchausen, something like that. Where you just tell a story and everybody jumps in and says, no, that's not how it happened. I can lie way better than that.
Yeah.
All right, so...
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fun.
Did somebody say... anyway. All right, so next Friday, we will deal with all of the craziness that's occurred. You've got deaths, you've got coalition troops. Heck, you've even got the tribal nations in towns. So we could have a great big political game if you want. And by politics, I mean bullets. So it just reminds me of, I don't know if any of you guys have read the Volsunga Saga.
Not me.
It's like Die Nibelungenlied, but for Iceland. Anyway, it's a saga all about, basically it's the thing that Lord of the Rings ended up becoming based on. But in it, the main character, Sigurd, he has this great line, and he turns to his king and he says, I'll deal with this, for I know how to talk to kings. And he goes up to the rival king and just murders him. and from then on, I'm like, I've always wanted to use the line, for I know how to talk to kings, right before I just open fire on everything.
That's great.
What was on Louis' cannons is like Ultima Ratio Regum or something like that, the last argument of kings? This guy had this stamped on his cannon when he went to war.
That actually probably happened in real life, too. Like, people would probably write on cannons. I know that we used to write in chalk on our bombs before we'd load them onto the jets and send them off.
I found out that a friend of ours, their family, made rifles here in America during the Revolutionary War. And they sold to both sides. And it was funny because he was explaining to me, he's like, oh, yeah, so, he could tell this many years later which side had the gun, because they honestly did make the guns differently for each side. The ones sold to the English were made to be defective and fall apart.
Ah, so he was an Oscar Schindler. They made bombs for the Germans. They didn't work.
Well, they were German at the time, too.
Yeah, no, it's they had Hessians and all that, as Sleepy Hollow taught us, who were all demon worshippers because Germans. So,
I gave up on that show partway through.
I can make German jokes, and Frank will laugh, because he lives in Germany. So.
Ethnically, I'm Scottish, Irish, and German. The only thing that has in common is we hate the English.
Well, everybody hates the English.
Everybody hates it. The English hate the English.
I mean, it's almost as universal as everyone hating France.
We do that too. I mean,
Well, when there were two countries that basically ruled Europe for 200 years, that's a lot of hate that builds up. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all right. So next week, what are you guys feeling? Like, where do you think this is leading? I guess is.
I don't know. I was half ready to try cutting down the tree.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever been to the rainforest in Seattle, but I have, or out in the Olympic Peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of width of tree we're dealing with here. Six or seven tall men.
Hey, if this thing that does MD in my hands can't do anything about a damn tree, I'm taking it back.
Well, it could be a millennial tree.
That's true.
And then it's a psychic god tree, so it's probably best not to piss off the tree.
Even if we have trouble damaging it, I will tell you that we will probably win initiative.
Yeah.
So you can run away next round if the first round goes badly.
I will say this. Rifts has a lot of really interesting ideas. Not always carried out well. Like, I really hate the fetishization of the coalition that's happened over the last 10 years, where they've moved from being the villain to being misunderstood good guys, and I'm like, no, they are Nazis.
Yeah.
The Nazis are never the good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the main book where Emperor Prosek's like, well, Hitler was a genius. He just failed at following through, and I'm like, that's horrible.
Yeah. It's the same thing that happens when you look at Gundam fandom and the people who like the Principality of Zeon, who were explicitly cast as space Nazis.
Yeah, and I think the reason
charismatic space Nazis.
The reason people dig the Coalition is because the Coalition have all the cool guns.
Yeah.
Like, they have all the cool armors and all the cool guns, and everyone's like, well, not everybody in the Coalition is evil, and I'm like, yes, actually, everyone in the Coalition is evil, and here's how I know. Because it is illegal to be altruistic in the Coalition. Read the Body Fixer description sometime.
Mm-hmm.
It basically says, if you try to help people without getting compensation, you are considered a bad doctor. If you help someone who's not human, you are evil and will be hunted down. And it's like, okay, so yeah, and it's like, I get that most of the Coalition is ignorant, but that does not alter that what they're doing is evil.
We basically played a Merc campaign where basically we were Dock Wagon. One of our characters was a body fixer, and the rest of us were Mercs.
Hey, that's an adventure in and of itself, though. Really, I mean.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's great. We always the Coalition was always trying to hunt us down because we were out there, helping people. It was a lot of fun, actually. I think that was probably the most fun Rifts campaign I played in.
Well, and I think I think the Siege on Tolkien is that's the turning point for the Coalition. That's when they stopped being the bad guys, because that was when they started saying things like, well, they had concentration camps, but that was a rogue general, not the Coalition proper. And I'm like, that's right, because the Coalition proper would have just lined them up and shot them all. They wouldn't have put them in camps. The rogue general
story that went out today.
And that's also where they had like the general who was the heroic Coalition general who led an army of 400,000 through Zytikix territory.
Yeah. Despite
the fact that breaks all the rules of how Zytikix work. And it's like, no, that's not, no. Yeah. Just you wrote them first, and then you just ignored what you wrote. It's just also that you could have the Coalition win when really they probably shouldn't have.
You wonder if this was part of the conversations while they were talking to Kevin about getting the rights to the game.
Look up Bill Coffin Siege on Tolkien rant.
Yeah, but I just wonder if they were talking and going, we might need to play with the canon a little bit since you've got absolutely no regard for it.
Well, the real problem I had with the Siege on Tolkien was, well, it was severalfold. The completely changing the nature of Cyber Knights, that kind of upset me, where they went from being defenders of humanity against monsters to being anti-technology fighters.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't make any sense to me, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then the fact that you didn't get a map of Tolkien or a description of what Tolkien looked like or what where it was or anything like that until the last book in Siege on Tolkien. So it's like, okay, so if I was playing through the Siege on Tolkien as it came out, I would have no ability to do that until the 6th book came out. Then there's the glorification of the Coalition. There's the betrayal of Aaron Tarn, where Aaron Tarn basically comes to Tolkien and is like, you can't defeat them, so you should not fight them. And, like, what do you do if you're Lord whatchamacallit, the guy who runs it, is like, well, these guys have sworn to kill every man, woman, and child in Tolkien. Should I not fight them? Like, what should we move? I mean, people won't let us move a whole nation, and the Tolkien and the Coalition will still be after it. I mean, it's just overall, it was just bad writing, badly done, and badly thought out. And that was where the Coalition started becoming the heroes. And that was where you got things like the Vanguard, which on the one level they're a neat idea, on the other level they're terrible. And that's where you get things like you've got the Coalition War Campaign, you've got so many Coalition books, Coalition Navy, Coalition War Campaign, Coalition this, Coalition that. Free Quebec is, I mean, not part of the Coalition anymore, but they use the same technology and have the same ethos. I thought it would have been great if they actually had during the Siege on Tolkien, if they had Free Quebec attack the Coalition. So the Coalition would have been fighting on 2 fronts, and they would have had to give up, although they destroyed a lot. Or it's one of those things where, like, they built up the Siege on Tolkien for a decade before they started doing it, but they'd never told us anything about Tolkien. It's like Laszlo, right? I think Laszlo is supposed to be the place where everybody's from. Like, I think that's what you're supposed to be like, okay, you guys are the good guys, you work for the Kingdom of Laszlo, that's great. But because Laszlo's never been really described anywhere, and we have no idea what it's like or what the people are like, all we have is the Coalition in America. That's literally all we know anything about. Well, except for Tolkien, but they're all dead now. So all we have is the Coalition. And so it's like, okay, what do you do? And you're like, well, I guess we play Coalition because that's all we've got.
Warhammer 40K fandom gets similar problems. The Imperium of Man, racist and xenophobic and violent and terrible and backwards, and they are pretty much like the Coalition in space. It's just that everyone else in the universe is bigger douchebags than they are.
Yeah, well, and that's actually the one saving grace of Warhammer 40K is everybody is xenophobic and hateful and oppressive and evil. Yeah. There is no good guy there. In the future of war, there is only Hello Kitty. That's...
So Kevin could have done something like that. It would have been interesting to say, here's an actual threat that even partially justifies the Coalition's attitude. I never saw anything like that.
Well, Federation of Magic was kind of that, and like they were a solid good bad guy in the sense of like corrupt, and I mean they're kind of the Menzo Baranzan of it. Like,
I just never really I didn't really feel the build up. I guess.
Well, that's the real problem. Is they didn't give us a build up. They didn't give it like. I think they should have done a Magic Zone section where they actually just talk about all the evil demons living in St. Louis and the St. Louis area, and why the Coalition doesn't go there. You know, like it's like this is such a scary place. We just don't even go here. We just sealed it off. We put a big cordon around it. We sit there with our robots. And even if you wanted to do the Tolkien thing, like my real problem with the Tolkien thing was they wanted to make both sides the bad guy, and it's like, well, if one side's the Nazis. The other side is the good guys. Like that's
Hitler invaded Stalin. You know, do that, but
No, I agree. And that's one of the things is when I loved Rifts and I got a lot of the World books when they came out, and I started ignoring a lot of the canon partway through.
Well, and the thing is
there and there. So when they were talking about licensing that, I was like, what exactly are they going to license? Oh yeah, I guess there is a whole bunch of canon in there.
Yeah, and well, the even if they don't bother to do much with the canon, like do anything new, even if they just did, okay, here's how to do all of those rules things in Savage Worlds, you can then pull whatever you want. And actually, I think the thing that bothers me, I think, about the Coalition is that they did a better job of doing the Coalition with Triax. Triax NGR versus the Gargoyle Empire. The Triax are a bunch of human supremacists who hate who hate monsters and DBs, but it makes sense because they're under siege from monsters and DBs. Like, yeah, what they're doing is wrong, but on the other hand, what they're doing is keeping them alive. You know, like, and so that they make a better coalition, and that's in a book that has very little about the NGR or Triax, really. It's basically just a big, long list of weapons and armor and Gundams. And that's the thing. I think the Coalition doesn't actually have an enemy, so you don't really get, like, they just come across as the bully of the world. And again, they've got an army of 1 million strong, each of them with power armor or Samus armor or robot suits or tanks, and you're like, I don't even understand that number. Like, even before the Iraq War, the first one, the Iraqi army was the 9th largest in the world at 900,000. So basically, we're talking about an army that would be the 8th or 7th largest army in the world today in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. What exactly stands in their way? And so basically, they made the Coalition too big, too united, too powerful, and then they didn't give them any enemies. Like... And they've got plenty. Like, you could do some cool stuff with Archie 3. He's cool. The Mechanoids invaded. That's cool. Like, the Mechanoids are Daleks, but with bigger guns.
That was my first Rift book. That was great.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to... I had to resist the urge to do a Mechanoids Rifts game, just because... Well, that would just be silly. But although I could build Mechanoid space the way Kevin would build it, using Sourcebook 2 and the Rift's main book and the 3 Galaxies book from Phase World. There, you have Mechanoid space. Enjoy, because that's exactly what he would have done. It would have been the same, cut and paste. But
literally.
Yeah, and so it's. But you look at it, you say, okay, you've got that. You've got the Magic Zone. You've got Lord Dunskin in the City of Brass in the Federation of Magic. You've got these threats. You've got the Vampire Kingdoms right on the south edge of Lone Star. But they don't do anything. And that was the thing I think I liked about Rifts growing up, is all the stuff was on the edge of doing something. Nothing had happened yet.
Yeah.
And so you could just always go. And I think that was my other real big issue with the Siege on Tolkien, was that something happened, and I had no control over it, as a GM or as a player. If you use Tolkien, this is what happens.
Yeah.
And your players don't get to be involved. They don't get to be the big damn heroes anymore. And the whole game was kind of about being big damn heroes. You know, like it's actually one of the few great things in the original book that's not in Ultimate Edition is page 22. Player characters in the world of Rifts. It's odd to me that players often seem to miss the fact that they are playing larger-than-life heroes in a fantastic world when they play any role-playing game. So basically, Rifts, you are heroes. You are big fish. You're the big deal, and everybody else is just a normal schmo. And when you take away that agency, well, there you are.
See, I'm waiting for Jacob's next game that comes out. It's going to have like 4, maybe 6 pages of rules, but a 20-page manifesto.
That's pretty close. I've been writing a GM's manifesto for years. Part of it is in Fate, what was it? Fate Codex Volume 2, Issue 1. Where I did my 2-hour Fate. That's half of my manifesto is how to run a game in 2 hours, how to not waste time doing it.
Nice.
Which apparently people liked it, so that's good.
Mhm.
But yeah, so no, my next project, it's going to be one of two, and I don't know which one. It's either going to be Where the Antelope Play, which is kind of my own old school hack of the games I played in 1993.
Fair enough.
Hey, that's old school now. That's over 20 years ago.
I know, we're getting old, man.
I'm not old. I'm immortal. I plan on living forever. So far, so good. But it's either going to be, Where the Antelope Play, or it's going to be my Fate Heartbreaker, which is how to build a D&D Heartbreaker in Fate. So I need to come up with a better title for it, though, and that's the real issue I'm stuck at. Because I don't think anybody's going to buy Heartbreaker. Like, it's just going to sound dumb.
Called Swordbreaker. It'll go.
No. Because the people who would buy Heartbreaker are either the people who buy it ironically because they know what it means, or the people who think it'll be a romance game, which it won't. So yeah, I need a better name. I don't know what to call it yet, though. I mean, I guess it could be called Core Fantasy or something like that, but that just is too generic. Not like Great Punk, which is super specific. But yeah, no, it's. But yeah, I'm actually leaning towards doing Where the Antelope Play. The hard part is I'm going to have to read a lot of Hunter S. Thompson before I write the intro. Because my view is I hate Aaron Tarn. I hate Aaron Tarn completely.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hate Aaron Tarn, because Aaron Tarn should be Captain Kirk. She should be the viewpoint character for the players. You know, like, her diary should give you an interesting character and an interesting situation in an interesting place, because that's Rifts, you know? Like, but instead she comes across blander than a Stephanie Meyer character. You know, like just completely milquetoast. There's nothing to Aaron Tarn, and I don't get why she'd be popular. Her writing isn't very good. She spends most of the time just meandering about places she's heard of, maybe. And it's like, well, okay, that's not interesting. So I have my own version for Where the Antelope Play. I'm calling him Jedediah Black, because that's the most badass name I could think of. And he's basically going to be a drugged-out combat botanist wandering the world, telling crazy stories about the adventures he has in interesting places. And I figure that'll work. You know, like, I'm like, all right, that'll do. My main problem is then I got to read a lot of really weird stuff. So I've been digging into my Moorcock, into some of the really weird stuff he wrote, like his spy novels, Borges and Hunter S. Thompson. And the problem with reading all of those in a row, though, is it starts to really affect your writing style. So all you can write like is Hunter S. Thompson for the next 3 or 4 days, or Borges for the next 3 or 4 days.
Wait a second, you have a writing style?
Not yet. Fingers crossed.
Well, what happened to damn,
Trek to the Stars? I'm still working on Trek to the Stars. It's just not close enough yet. Everybody who said it wasn't close enough was right. It wasn't. I need to do a lot more tinkering with the system. Specifically, I ran into a serious issue with the wound system. It didn't work, so I'm leaning more towards something like a Fallout system, where it just bad things happen, and that adds dice to the GM's pool, or something like that. But yeah, I'm still tweaking some of the core elements, and that's where I want to have a beta document ready to play before I go to Kickstarter.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that completely. Just, why don't you get it done?
But yeah, no, I've got like 6 games bordering on ready, so I plan on at least once a quarter or twice a year maybe doing a tiny Kickstarter to get art and editing and layout, and then just releasing them and
Yeah.
seeing what happens.
Mm.
Because I mean that just I have all these ideas, and I'm so busy working on Jade Punk that I mean I've written them all, and they're all kind of sitting either half finished or almost completely finished. And I'm like, well, what the heck do I do with all of these? I don't really have any experience with doing a Kickstarter because I wasn't involved in the Jade Punk or Shadowcraft ones. But I talked with Mark Diaz-Truman, and he said he could help me out with that.
Right.
So we'll see.
Very good.
But yeah, I'm leaning towards where the Antelope play because I want to get that done before Christmas. I'd like to get that out there prior to Savage Rifts, which will, I think, dry up the market for really weird cross-time world games. Mine will be the Torg to Savage Rifts. And I love both Torg and Rifts, so I don't like the system for Torg.
I hate the Torg system.
I actually prefer Rift system to Torg system. As sick as that is to say. But just Torg it always felt really bland to me. Like there was no person. Like the settings have so much personality, and then the system is just like, well, it's a system. I'm like, well, yeah, don't be that guy. Let's have some fun. Let's do some weird stuff. Let's get nuts. You want to get nuts? All right. Well, I will see you guys next Friday. Yeah.
Very good.
Sounds good. Take care, man.
Thank you very much.
All right.